YouTube platforms as usual. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Couple of things I want to run by you folks tonight. Now we were on earlier for some of you folks that may have tuned in. I wanted to do we did what I refer to oftentimes as a silent silent broadcast where I gave my MAGA viewers plenty of time to input comments. We didn't take any calls. I like to be able to talk to MAGA as well. And because many of them do not have TikTok, Clapper, or Instagram where they can call in, I decided to let them just simply type, and we dealt with their responses in detail. So we ran a live for about an hour or so not too long ago, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to MAGA just as much as I enjoyed talking to folks on the left. It's just that right now, I'm coming across as more critical of President Trump than I am of the left because Trump is in office and some of the things he is doing is controversial. Nevertheless, my audience was started mostly MAGA because I was criticizing Biden during his economy about 3 or 4 years ago. So it is what it is. Folks do not like to hear what they disagree with. So when I'm criticizing the left hates me. When I'm criticizing the right also responds in kind. We are a free speech program. We're going to give you our opinion. This is where you get to correct the opinions when you feel they're wrong, and we're going to entertain your opinion all day, every day. But that's how free speech works. You don't just endorse a candidate blindly, which is going to lead into what we're talking about today. We got a few topics here now. They're all tariff related because that is what is dominating the news today. They're all tariff related. Thank you in the comments there, Paul Warner. Appreciate the accolades. It's a great channel. Thank you. Right off the bat, I want to ask you folks. Now you see on the monitor behind me, picture of the current commander-in-chief and his predecessor, Joe Biden. Obviously, they run a totally different platform. They're literally at 180 degrees of each other. Not only is one right and one left, but just the way they address the public in general, the way they operate from the Oval Office. What I want to ask you folks is this. Do you favor a lively administration a la the Trump presidency, or do you favor boring politics? Do you like the fact that you rarely see Biden on TV at all? Or do you like the fact that you see Trump on television just about every day? A lively administration or a boring one? Which one do you tend to favor? Watched your live earlier. How did Biden tank the economy, says Will G. I don't think he did. Will, appreciate the support. I don't think he tanked the economy at all. If you look at where the economy was, Biden just left office on January 20th of this year. I don't recall the economy being that much different on January 20th than it is now. It's not like Trump has been in office for 3 months and things have really changed drastically in terms of how much you're paying for groceries, how much you're paying for fuel, the cost of inflation and things like that, the jobs market, any of that. So Trump doesn't think the economy is tanked right now. So it was not obviously tanked when he took office after 4 years of Biden. So I don't believe Biden tanked the economy. I think if you graded Biden if you looked at Biden's economy on a graph, there was a time when things were down, but certainly toward the end of his administration, the economy was on a rebound. I think that's undeniable. The economy was certainly on a rebound. And the number one complaint, the chief complaint against the Biden economy was the price of eggs. Oddly enough, once Trump became president, not only did the price of eggs not seemingly become a major issue anymore, they started suddenly admitting it was due to the bird flu. Once Trump became president, the price of eggs no longer was the responsibility of the president. But when Biden was in office, that was one of the main items they were blaming on Biden as the price of eggs. I haven't heard the right blame Trump for the price of eggs at all. In fact, you didn't hear the right connect Trump to the price of eggs until the price started going down. Then suddenly Trump was taking credit for the price of eggs coming down. So, sometimes the games can be played. But I'm asking right off the bat for the first question, do you favor a lively administration, such as President Trump being on TV almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day? Or do you favor an administration such as Biden, where you may hear from him once a week or so? So let me know in the comments. We'll talk about that, lively versus somewhat boring, somewhat mundane, where you don't hear from the president all the time. Some folks may favor both, and there's a different reason why. So I'd like to hear your opinion on that. Also, what I want to ask you folks is, now that the economy is somewhat about, not the economy, but the stock market, now that Trump has put a 90-day suspension on some of these tariffs, not the big one, not the one where he's holding up the tariff board, you know, the one that's pictured here on the monitor behind me, not where he's holding up this big, huge board showing how the tariffs are. And I don't know why my damn computer, there we go. My computer's a little slow, but that board right there, he's put a 90-day suspension on those crazy ass numbers there. So for 90 days, the tariffs are not going to hit, with the exception of China. The tariff on China actually went up. At the time he held this board up, the tariff listed on this board for China is only at 67%. He has damn near doubled that since then. The tariff on China now, and Michael, appreciate the sub there, Mike, thank you, 8647, thank you. The tariff on China is now at 124%. So he is just about double the tariff that's on China. So I want to ask you folks, in regards to the overall, you know, the tariffs that we've seen coming out of the Trump administration, what is your feeling on it? Do you think Trump is genuinely on the path of making America much better financially? You think these tariffs will indeed strengthen us economically? Or do you see something maybe darker in regards to this? We're going to talk about that. What's your feeling? What's your assessment of the Trump tariffs? Like I said, a 90-day suspension now. So the market is somewhat on the rebound. Keep in mind, the market began to rebound a little bit when Trump stated he was going to suspend the tariffs for 90 days. What do you think is going to happen at the end of the 90 days? The market was tanking because of the tariffs. He suspends them for 90 days and the market starts rebounding. 90 days from now is in the middle of July. So what do you think is going to start to happen once we get closer to July? Probably the same thing we were dealing with yesterday, if you ask me. But what do you think? You think Trump is on to something? Do you favor the tariffs that he has imposed? Do you think at the end of the day, America will benefit? And last question before we start taking calls and dealing with comments. We've been talking about this one off and on, but this also is in relation to the financial state of America. The Trump administration has been consistently bragging about how much money they have saved us. Whether it is getting rid of USAID, whether it is no longer sending money to the Ukraine, whether it is firing federal employees that they felt were just simply waste, fraud, and abuse of our tax dollars, or getting rid of immigrants that they believe were on the dough costing us money. The Trump administration has been constantly bragging about how many billions of dollars, if not trillions at this point, that they have saved the U.S. taxpayers. Simple question. Where the hell is that money going to go? I want to ask from you folks, where do you believe if they're saving, if billions of dollars, if not probably over $1 trillion by this point, if you listen to Elon Musk, over $1 trillion used to go to all of these different entities, and that money is no longer going to those entities, where's the money going to go now? Where's the money going to go? The money that we're saving, if we get these rare earth minerals from the Ukraine, assuming that deal takes place, that will be profitable for this country. Where is that money going to go? If you listen to the Trump administration, based on all of their findings of waste, fraud, and abuse and all of the stuff they're cutting off, they should be drowning in cash. Where is that money going to go? That's what I'm asking you folks. Because at the end of the day, right now, while these tariffs are on, you're going to be paying a lot more for the price of goods and services. You might need a little bit of extra money when you walk into Walmart and most of their goods coming from China are potentially marked up as high as 124% to cover the tariffs. So you might have a little bit of use for some of that money. Where do you think the money is going to go? So those are our topics today. President Trump stating that some of these countries are coming to him and begging to make a deal with the United States. Now, that's coming from Trump, not the media. So for folks who are suggesting, well, the media is indicating that these countries are coming to Trump begging to make deals. No, that statement came from Trump. It's not coming from the media. The media is merely replaying it.
On you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate. Congress takes over negotiating. Sell America fast because you're going to go busted.
If Congress takes over negotiating, because they don't negotiate as good as he does, according to him, if Congress takes over negotiating from Trump, you should sell America fast. In other words, Congress will essentially leave America in a bad way. Notice what he stated there. In addition to what he said about Congress not being as good at negotiating as he is, he also stated that several countries are coming to him begging to negotiate and kissing his ass. He's insulting most of our trading partners and Congress in one speech. I mean, he's suggesting that world leaders are coming to him kissing his ass, and he's suggesting that Congress, if they take over the negotiating process, you need to sell America. Wow. So looking in the comments, how do you feel about the tariffs? Do you feel like Trump is leading the country in the right direction? That's what we're going to discuss. As always, you know how the program is ran. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We are MAGA friendly, despite me not having my beloved MAGA hat in hand. We are MAGA friendly. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having a dinner with Q. If you enjoy this type of dialogue, as always, we ask that you follow the program. If you're on Instagram, if you're on Clapper tonight, if you're on TikTok, and if you're on YouTube, feel free to drop a subscription. Monday through Friday is when you generally find us here. He's been insulting the whole damn country since he started running, says King Finn. The right likes that stuff, though. Liberal tears, sticking it to the Dems. I mean, the right likes that. My guess is, based on what he said here, with the amount of laughter in the background, he's likely in front of a right-wing audience there. They liked it. I mean, so when he's insulting world leaders and saying they're kissing his ass, sounds kind of like they like that stuff. Oh, wow, shocked. He's still crying, says Chris Babcock. Feel free to elaborate on what the crying is about, unless you suggest that simply discussing Trump in a way that's not always positive constitutes as crying. So let me know in the comments. Will G says, fuck it. What does that say? F ain't, I see the ain't shit part, but I don't see the rep. What does the F stand for? F ain't shit. Government isn't supposed to be bribery for profits. Wow. Trump will put money straight into his pocket for official purposes, in quotes. And that's what we're asking. If America saves all of this money, Ukraine, getting rid of illegal immigrants, getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, where is that money going? You listen to Elon, he saved America trillions of bucks. Where is that money going? You and I might be able to use it. Going straight to the box. Good evening. Welcome to the program. MAGA Reacts. Always a pleasure to have you on. Good evening, MAGA Reacts. So what do you think? Where is all that money going?
What do you mean? Is it going into the treasury, where it's going to be used by the country to pay for expenses and debt and all kinds of shit?
What do you mean by expenses? Expenses for who? For what?
It goes into the treasury. It goes into the government. Like, the same way, where do you think your taxes go? It's the same place your taxes go.
Yeah, but your taxes also go to a lot of them programs they got rid of. So if you got a federal job, for instance, your taxes go into that person's salary.
They didn't get rid of everything. There's still a ton of programs left.
They're still getting rid of them. They still getting rid of them though.
Yeah, I know, but it's the goal is to cut taxes next, and the goal is to also pay for existing shit because we're not collecting more money than we're spending. Until we get to that point, until the books are balanced, we need to collect more money. And I'd rather they tariff imports than raise taxes on everybody, because that's really what they should be doing. But Trump's avoiding it by, tariffing imports. This way, we're only taxing.
Well,
shit.
have you ever heard of the phrase that a tariff is a tax?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with it.
Okay.
But the tariff's a tax only on imports. That's the part most media skip. They act like all the prices are going to go up. We get our eggs from here. We get our food from here. Like, very, very little food is imported.
But you do realize exactly. You realize how much shit.
It's still going to be the same price or even cheaper.
Yeah, but you say it's only on imports, like there's not a lot of things that are imported. You realize how much shit we import? All of our devices, everybody everybody who's watching me and communicating, you're on an imported device.
Yeah, but guess what's more important? Food. And if we go in a trade war, yeah, we're not going to get our trinkets, but China's not going to get their food, and people are going to starve.
You really refer to your phone.
What I know.
You really refer to your phone as a trinket?
It's an important trinket, but I don't need it to live. It's not as important as food. And as far as I know, China imports food, don't they? And they buy food from us, as far as I know, but I could be wrong about this.
Yeah, my actual day job, if I don't have a smartphone, I can't do my day job. I mean, so a phone is just as a phone is
phone, Tim.
Huh?
They're not going to take away the 5 devices you already have. They're not going to take away my phone and your phone.
Yeah, but people are buying, as you call them, trinkets every day.
Yeah, but they don't need to. It's not the same as food. We die if we don't eat. You're not going to die if you get stuck with an old phone versus a new one. I'm just saying, if this trade war gets escalated, end of the day, I think we're better off because the things we need to survive, like food, we have
wait. Is this the shit that Trump promised on day one well, you really don't need a phone, you only need food. We were complaining about the price of eggs under Biden. Now we get Trump and we're told, well, you really don't need a new phone. It ain't as important as food. You realize how desperate that sounds?
Sorry, I'm coming from another live that was escalating things really crazy, so maybe I should cool down a little bit.
Okay. I mean, I'm just listen. I don't have any problem. You can say whatever the hell you want here. You know we're about free speech. But what I'm saying is, under Biden, we made it sound like because gas was up a 50 cent or $1 a gallon and eggs were costly, that people were really desperate. Now we got Trump in office, and you're saying things suddenly like, well, you really don't need a new phone. That ain't a survival tool like food is. I mean, it sounds like the condition has gotten significantly worse under Trump.
I think even with these tariff wars, I think our fuel is still going to go down, and our food is still going to go down. That's all I'm saying. That's the part people miss. Even with all these tariffs, I think since we make a lot of our own fuel, it's going to still go down, or we don't get our fuel from China, we get it from the Saudis and stuff. It's still going to be low. And
what is the tariff on the Saudis? Because I'm sure they got one too.
Yeah, but they don't care about that. I don't think they do.
Everybody cares about a tariff. I mean, if I'm importing or exporting billions of dollars worth of shit to your country, 10% is a whole lot of money. Everybody cares about a tariff.
Yeah, but you can save that 10%. Trump's going to make it where you save that 10% in other places. I've been saying this to you from day one. You're going to save it on fuel. You're going to save it on being able to use the Suez Canal, which is a shorter trip. So it's going to take 14 days off ships traveling across from China to America. You're going to save that money in other places. And you're going to save it on taxes, which I've also been saying on day one, which is clearly his goal. You make sure the tariffs bring in money, and then you fucking lower taxes or balance the books or a mix of both.
Well,
until
the problem I have about the taxes, I mentioned this on it earlier, but the problem with taxes is we're assuming that everybody is paying enough in taxes that if you give them a tax cut, it's going to make a significant difference in their life. If you're a single mom, earning 50, 60 grand a year, and all of a sudden shit goes up 50, 60% at Walmart that you normally buy, giving that person who probably ain't paying much in taxes anyway when you factor in earned income credit and shit like that, giving her a 10, 20% tax break is not going to help her out at all. It's not going to make up for all that lost money when she's paying all those tariffs all over Walmart.
Yeah, but you also give it to Walmart so they can keep their prices low. You can give it to whoever needs it to keep the prices low and Americans happy.
So you're saying if China, if you're saying if China imposes I think they're around 94% or whatever they're saying they're going to impose on us. So if Walmart's goods have to go up to match China's 94% tariff they're imposing, you're saying the Trump administration is going to give Walmart the 94%?
I don't know if they're going to give them the whole 94%, but they'll give them something. They'll help them out in other ways. I mean, they're already working on lowering fuel costs. They're working on other things. And again, it's only on imports, and Walmart still sells a lot of local products like groceries and stuff.
I mean, just about all of the clothes in America come from China. I mean, just about all the shit you're buying probably comes from China. Most of it does. Like we talked about electronics, like laptops and all of that stuff. If you run a business, your monitors, your cash register, all of that shit's got Chinese parts in it. I mean, do you look at all of that as just non-essential?
I mean, in a way, it isn't. I've had the same clothes for years. I don't even remember the last time I bought a new shirt.
You never went into a business and they told you right now we cannot ring you up because our registers are down. You realize how important that stuff is? If you get rid of the electronics, I mean...
Yeah, but you're talking like the stuff we have now is going to magically go bad.
So we just fall behind technologically because we're trying to hold on to older electronics.
I mean, if this war escalates and it lasts for years, maybe, but I doubt it's going to last more than a couple of weeks, maybe a month tops.
Why do you see that? Why do you believe that?
Because food is more important, and the Chinese need our food. And they also need our money. Like, this is like a very fucked up balanced scale. And even though it leans, like Trump says, it leans toward the Chinese and he's trying to balance it toward us, I think without us, they're just as fucked.
You believe the Chinese are going to cave because you said they need our food?
They need our food, our money. They need a lot from us. I believe they need us as much as we need them.
I'm not saying they may not need us, but you do realize, unlike America, the Chinese are used to hardship. When I was a child, China was not a very wealthy. I mean, they were barely even a developing country back then. The Chinese have only reached the status they are in very, very recent times. They're used to being poor. So folks tend to think, well, once their economy starts getting jacked up, they'll come back to play ball. First of all, the citizens in China don't even get a vote. It's a dictatorship. It's not like in America, where if our economy gets fucked up, you're going to have millions of people on the street like they were last weekend protesting. That's not going to happen in China. So the idea that the Chinese are just going to bend over and bow to Trump because it's hurting the economy, they got a dictatorship. They don't mind making their people suffer. I don't think you guys understand that.
See, you kind of answered my question for me. Their people are already suffering. So they have, like, you know what a house of cards is?
Yeah.
I think they have the bigger house of cards, and their house of cards are way more likely to tumble over than ours. Because their people are already suffering. They're probably, you imagine a couple of years ago. Do you not remember the Hong Kong riots and shit?
That ain't gonna happen in China. You heard Tiananmen Square, right?
Hong Kong is China.
What?
Hong Kong is China.
You've heard of Tiananmen Square, right?
Exactly.
They're not gonna let their people riot like that. They can squash that shit.
They can only squash so much. Their population's still outnumbered.
They can squash a lot of it.
They can only go so far.
I think when you're talking about stuff like that, I think that would be more of a problem in America because our people also have the right to protest, and we as a people have more power in terms of combating the government than the Chinese citizens do. So the idea that we'll hold out longer and they'll cave first. No, you don't have to take a lot from Americans to piss them off. Like I said, the Chinese are used to being in a far more poorer state than Americans is. I don't know if we can win it as easily as you're making it sound.
I'm not saying I don't know if it's gonna be easier or not, but I'm just betting more on America because I feel like we can handle it more. Because again, they're gonna be starving. We're just gonna not have old phones.
I think you don't think we don't get any food. We don't get any food at all.
What's up?
We don't get any food or consumables from China at all.
I doubt it. I'm sure we get some, but
I don't know if I
not
believe
to the
that.
point where we need to survive. Anyway, another thing I want to bring up, another thing you use against me all the time is that stupid, the fireman thing. How we all pay for firemen, and that we're so
Yeah, the 911. Yeah, 911 is a socialist system. Yes.
But another thing I want to bring up is, our military is defending the waterways that the Chinese ships are using to bring product all over the world. Yet they don't pay for our military whatsoever. Like, we pay for our firefighters, but our military is like the firefighters of the sea.
No.
I mean, we just spent millions of dollars blowing up Houthis to protect the ships going through the Suez Canal.
Let me tell you something. I hear what you said. Let me just tell you something. The Chinese do not need America to defend their ships using that waterway. If you fuck with the Chinese and America don't get in the way, the Chinese can take care of any threat that they're facing. So they're not some little small country that needs America's. The Chinese will be fine. If you start bombing and terrorizing Chinese ships, as long as the U.S. don't get in the way, they can deal with any threat that comes their way. So I don't give credit to America for defending any waterway in regards to the Chinese. They're more than capable of defending themselves.
Well, still, even though they're capable, the rest of the world isn't. Europe barely has an army.
We're not talking about the rest of the world. We're talking about China right now.
Army. What's up?
We're not talking about the rest of the world. We're talking about China right now.
Well, we're tariffing the whole world. We're not just tariffing just China. We're tariffing the whole world. And I feel like if we're going to be protecting the waterways, there should be like a tariff on every port where we get paid for protecting those waterways.
Well, if China says fuck your tariff, I don't want your defense. What are you gonna do? They don't need our defense.
Yeah, but then we start carving up the world, and they'll have to get around us and our allies, I guess.
You really?
I mean, it can go different ways, but I was thinking about it, and the way we defend the waterways we do, I feel like we need to get paid for it a little bit. And if it's just tariffs on products coming to U.S., it's not even like a quarter of what we're owed.
Yeah.
We should tariff.
You sound like you literally sound like a mob boss, and this is the same argument Trump did with Greenland, where you're going to come to somebody and demand payment for protection when they did not feel any threat until you walked in their shop. Like you walk into a pizza shop. I'd hate to see something happen to your shop. I need 10% off of your proceeds for protection. I didn't feel like I was in a threat at all in this shop until you walked in. That is exactly what Greenland is saying, because we're telling them that we want some type of assets or some type of compensation for protecting them. And they're like, we never felt any danger until you came along talking about this shit. Same thing you're talking about the waterways. A lot of folks around the world, like, we didn't feel any threat until you started demanding payment for protection. You feel like the biggest threat in the room.
Just because they've never lived in a world where America wasn't policing the entire world.
Exactly. Exactly. The fact that you have a relationship with America is probably the thing that puts you in most danger of all. I gotta move on. I'll give you the last word.
No, vice versa. It's what makes you so safe that you don't even need to have an army of any kind. Greenland doesn't have an army. Canada barely has an army. Australia kind of does because they're like more waterways that they have to cover. They have a pretty decent navy. I think we do the world a service, and asking for a small tariff on product imported to our own country is a small ask for all we provide.
Okay, I disagree. My point is this: as long as you get your hands on an atomic weapon or two, ain't nobody gonna fuck with you. You don't need to pay the Americans infinite protection fees. Just get your hand on an atomic weapon, and for the most part, ain't nobody gonna fuck with you. And that would save you a lot of money.
Even though I usually argue the opposite, that also hasn't solved Russia's Ukraine problem. They can't nuke Ukraine. I mean, you're not going to be always able to nuke. I mean, if you nuke, you're just fucking over everybody.
Bro,
You're destroying the whole world.
That's a whole different story, but MAGA reacts as always. Thank you. Appreciate you coming through. All right, good talk. All right, moving on with the program. I do want to respond to a super chat. I meant to say Trump ain't shit. That's what I thought, but I didn't want to put words in your mouth there, Will. Thank you. Looking in the comments, Europe nearly has an army. You know, that's what I'm suggesting is that everybody, the United States has convinced everybody that you're only one step away from domination if you don't have our protection. Really, when you look at what's going on around the world, America is probably one of the most aggressive countries on the planet. I mean, a lot of these countries would be getting along fine without needing all of this shit. It's America that's often in the mix, stirring up shit. You know, I can't think of a war that's probably taken place over the last 2 or 3 generations that America has not been involved on one side or the other. We're probably the biggest shit stirrers on the planet talking about, well, you might need protection. Yeah, from you. And I'm saying this as an American. Tap the screen, get the likes up to 20,000. Certainly would appreciate that. Tap the screen if you're on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button and follow, if you will, if you're on Clapper this evening. I like my women like COVID-19 and easily spread. Oh my God. Who said that life ain't some crazy folks on Clapper. But anyway, going back to the box, you know what I just hit there? Trump is making us weaker, to be honest, with his policy, says for the great. Some are saying that, but MAGA believes that Trump is making us stronger. MAGA has just the opposite opinion. Going to the box, the one and only Dencal. Good evening, Dencal. Now, you heard MAGA reacts. I'm assuming you may have a disagreement or so. Good evening, Dencal.
I didn't hear that much from him, so I'm not sure everything he said, but I know it was bullshit.
You just know without even hearing it, huh?
I don't even have to hear him. I heard him towards the end making these crazy assessments that everybody needs America and everybody's got to back down and nobody can stand up to us and everybody's just going to do what we say. That's not what's happening.
Yeah. Well, you did hear what Trump said, though, earlier, didn't you? About they're kissing his ass?
Yeah. He said that, but he's been saying that for days. He's been talking about all of these countries who've been begging to negotiate. Why haven't he negotiated deals? What are they waiting for these people that have been kissing his ass for a week or so? He's been talking about Vietnam, everybody from the time he put on, he introduced the tariffs. Everybody wants to make a deal, but he hadn't sat down with not one country and made a deal. All of this stuff is just a conversation. Yeah. And ain't nobody gonna sit down with him and destroy their own economy. They probably saying that because they want, all you gotta do is give Trump compliments and tell him, yeah, you the greatest and we love you and we're gonna do something with you. But just like we saw what happened with Mexico and Canada, he came back and said, oh, everybody's doing what I want them to do.
Yeah.
Canada didn't do shit and Mexico didn't do shit either.
So you believe he's just giving his people false hope?
Yeah, of course.
No.
I mean, he's flying by the seat of his pants. He woke up this morning and all of his trade people said, if your ass don't back off these tariffs, the fucking bond market is falling off the face.
That's what apparently it was, is the bond market. Folks were somebody within his inner circle convinced him that you may ruin the bond market in a way that you by yourself cannot repair. And that's what a lot of the analysts are saying. That's the reason why he backed off. It wasn't that, somebody came to the table and started bowing down. It's that somebody got to him within his inner circle and told him the damage you're doing may be irreparable.
Right. Well, I mean, what great strategy. They came out today on the White House floor. Oh, Oh, it was the art of the deal. You guys all missed it. He was so great. Look what he did. He created leverage for himself. Ain't nobody doing nothing but making phone calls, talking shit, so he won't, utilize, the American economy to screw them over. Like, yeah.
But what about like
he has to go through that with us.
But what about Trump? Because you mentioned the art of the deal. Trump is known as a deal maker. Woo on YouTube says exactly that. He says Trump is a deal maker. That's what he does. Some folks see Trump as reliable in terms of always making deals that's going to put us on top. Are they getting it wrong?
No, he does make deals, but his deals are trash, and he's the one who breaks his own deals. You can't. He set the whole world on fire. Then he came in with a water hose and sprayed a little water on it and told everybody to kiss his ass. Like, no, that's not what is happening. Those foreign leaders are trying to avoid hurting their own people. I will give them that. And as true leaders, they should call him and say, hey, can we work out a deal? That's not nothing, like any president can do that.
But what about now I kind of know the answer, at least I have my own opinion on this, but I'm going to present it to you because it's coming from a lot of MAGA. They are giving him credit for the fact that once he suspended the 90-day tariffs, except on China, once he stated he's going to suspend them for 90 days, the market is bouncing back. MAGA is giving him credit for that. What say you?
I say, look, a lot of business people have been unsure. They don't have a direction. And the moment they got a glimpse of something positive coming from Trump, everybody jumped all over it. But trust me, the economy is not repaired because he did that. We still got tariffs that are going into place, like he said, a 10% baseline.
Right.
Still across all of those countries, everything from China is now at a standstill. Everything.
Wow. Not to mention, what the hell happens in 90 days?
Exactly. How do you negotiate trade deals with 75 different countries while you walking around talking about how they kissing your ass and you ain't making no deals? Where are the deals at? Just because you say, oh, everybody's coming to the table. And he said he wants to have an individual hand in each situation.
Yeah.
Bro, you don't negotiate trade deals with specific countries in a week, let alone 2 weeks or a month. And you're going to do 75 individual deals while you still in the midst of this shit with China. And the EU they said fuck you too. They still doing their own tariffs, retaliation.
Well, but the notion is they believe that Trump is capable of multitasking. But in the interim, but I'm just telling you what folks feel. Listen to this comment though. Now I'm trying to figure out what this pertains to. Maybe you can help me out. Coming from Snap Rap on YouTube, I guess it's in reference to you and my choice of callers. He says, "Can we get a non-racist white commentator, please?"
Non-racist white commentator.
Now, my last guy was MAGA Reacts. I had a white or Egyptian. I had MAGA on before you, so I assume he's referring to you. He wants me to get a non-racist white commentator on. So apparently you are a racist, non-white commentator.
Hey, look, this is your show, so I don't want to be telling other people that there are plenty of shows like that on TikTok that he could go to. But I don't want people to leave your show because of me. So if he could just go ahead and swipe up for a couple of minutes and I'll be gone. And
let me just say this. Instead of him swiping up, because you're right, I don't want to lose viewers, come on over to TikTok yourself and I'll put you right up and you can actually be the change you desire. So come on over and I'll put you up as my non-racist white commentator and then you can correct everything you've heard.
I'm sure MAGA Reacts gave him plenty to be proud about. I know he did.
I don't know. I like the free speech, but some folks, we haven't even talked about race, so I don't know where it's coming from.
Exactly. That's what I'm kind of baffled. So he came in with a decision about what people are talking about. But the surprising thing is he's here, he's communicating with the host, and he's telling the host what he wants the show to be about.
Yeah, and listen, I don't mind delivering. I like to make sure, I like to have folks on both sides of the aisle, but I want to keep the viewers as happy as I can. I can't force MAGA to come on the show, or as he say, non-racist white people. I can't look if anyone is watching or want to talk. Change your screen name to non-racist white person. Come on over to TikTok. You'll be my next caller, guaranteed. Just change your screen name. Look, the minute I see non-racist white person, I give you first dibs. You'll be first to come on. Because I can only help you so much. But I did see that. So let me ask you this, getting back to the actual topic. All of the money that Elon and Trump claim they have saved us, whether it is waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, no more weapons. They call it money, but no more weapons going to the Ukraine. We're getting rid of impoverished immigrants, so they're not on the dough anymore. Where is this money going to go? Now that they've saved trillions of dollars, according to them, that were going out to all of these wasteful entities, now that they've preventing that, where is that money going to go, in your opinion?
To the tax break for the rich. He's already said it. 4.5 or 4.7 trillion dollars to extend and expand the tax breaks for the rich. That's all that's in the proposal.
So he literally fired average everyday working federal workers, got rid of, programs like HIV assistance and stuff like that overseas to give rich people a tax break?
That's what's in the bill. It's not me saying it. That's what's in the bill. All of that stuff he was talking about no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax, no income, federal income tax. None of that shit is in the bill that they're talking about.
Wow. I kind of wondered that in regards to the whole notion of promises made, promises kept, why is MAGA not complaining about the lack of no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime being covered by the Trump administration? You're right, it's not in the bill, and MAGA's not complaining about that. This is something we voted him in for. Why is that?
Right, but he's replaced that mentality with it's going to be a little pain. So they've already incorporated that in their talking points now. They don't expect nothing. They just happy that they feel like they're winning. They know that prices are going to go up on everything starting this later this week. They know that, but they don't care because now they've been mentally programmed to think we knew he wasn't going to do nothing really. It's going to take a while so we can wait. You got Judge Janine on TV talking about, I don't care about my 401k. I believe that guy.
I got a friend I been talking to him for years. He is, not only is he MAGA, he is cute because he was constantly believing that Nancy Pelosi was going to get arrested and Trump was going to get installed after losing the election in 2020. He's cute, but he's hardcore Trump supporter. And he said that shit to me today, like, listen, I'm still in my I think he's like 60. He's like, I'm not about to retire. I don't need my 401k right now. And I told him, I said, just a few months ago, you were bitching in desperation about the price of eggs. You're now talking about you don't need your 401k. Are you serious? You're talking about $4 or $5 extra for a price of a dozen of eggs to I don't need my 401k right now.
And he in the 60s, so he's
right
close to the time he's going to need it. And why has it got to be about them individually? I don't need mine. Stop talking for the vast majority of Americans, which we already know is what they say, one lost paycheck away from poverty or one emergency away from these people need their damn money. Stop saying it's okay that he's destroying the market single-handedly just so he can promise us some stuff in the future. With all of the economists, and I'm not an economist, but I know enough to use common sense to understand that you can't just block all of these markets from around the world and say that's going to bring jobs back to America with no plans for construction, none of this shit. They haven't even picked out the land or none of that shit.
But I have to ask you if what you're saying is true. Why is it that you see things so differently than MAGA? Because MAGA thinks that what Trump is doing is a winner. It's going to put us on the path to greatness. Why do you have such a different opinion than them?
Well, I think, there's multiple reasons. A part of it is a lot of MAGA they're not invested in the stock market, and they don't have 401ks and shit like that. So that's just chatter to people who don't really have a vested interest in the stock market, and all they live check to check, or they up there in the hills or whatever. They heard him say he's bringing back. He did an executive order yesterday, say he's bringing back coal. That kind of shit. They like to hear that, even though it makes no fucking sense. It is not ever going to happen because coal costs too much to produce, and plus it's so hazardous to the environment and the people who dig it. But if he puts out an executive order, they are fine with that because they ain't got no stock holdings. They don't care about the stock market. They don't care about who else get hurt as long as they get hope. And that's what he's offering them, is consistently offering them hope, but he keeps moving the goalposts. Because the last time he said how all of these factories and stuff, remember he was telling them people in Ohio, don't move yet. Don't move your house. It's all coming back. And now all of them people is out of work except for like 50 people.
It's interesting you mentioned that Trump is giving MAGA hope constantly. I believe her name was Sarah Palin. She was quoted as saying, "How's that hopey changey thing working?" What? Like, hope was not very popular when it was coming from Jesse Jackson, a la Keep Hope Alive, or it was coming from Barack Obama. Is hope making a comeback, to quote Michelle Obama? Is hope making a comeback?
Well, I mean, he's not framing it as hope.
But that's what it is.
He's kind of framing it as just stick with me, and I'm going to make some shit happen for you. Even though nobody is running around talking about how he, in particular, made them richer. All of them oligarchs, all of them people that was sitting on the inauguration stage with him, they put up a graph the other day, and it broke them all down from Zuckerberg to Bezos and Musk, and it broke it down like how much their companies have lost since the inauguration day.
Wow.
And they were like $1 trillion, 600 billion. All of them people that sat up there on that stage and was shitting and grinning, knowing they hate the dude, instead of banding together and saying, no, we're not going to allow this to happen, they all capitulated, and now they all sitting there looking stupid. And none of them have any stability in their company, even Elon Musk, because all of them, 11 gigafactories he got in China, now he done lost access to all of that shit because 125% tariffs.
Wow. Last question I want to ask you before I move on, and so I'm sure some folks are not going to like this answer, but you're certainly speculating here. But I'm going to ask it anyway, and we can speculate in the comments if you will. What do you think the economy would be like if we were online discussing President Kamala Harris right now?
It had been, if people actually look at the market, we were on a trajectory where our
rebounding
income was rising faster than inflation. Inflation, well, we had it down to 2.5, on its way down to the 2% that the Fed really wanted to lower interest rates, and we were on a trajectory to do that. All of this, everybody in the world is screwing us. Is just bullshit, because we had the best economy in the whole world. Everybody wanted to deal with us. Now they don't. And even though they want to, probably because they need to for stability, the moment they're going to try to figure out how to decouple away from us. You know how we was talking about we need to decouple from China because we depended on them too much?
Yeah.
Other countries, our allies, they're figuring out a way to decouple from us. So if that means they got to run over to China and start getting some of them cheap services that America been enjoying the whole time, they're going to do it.
Permanent damage. Permanent relationship damage is what you're talking about.
Looks like. I can't tell, because I tell you what, the American economy is resilient, as we saw with just one sentence from him He's postponing it for 90 days, and everybody went stir crazy.
Yeah.
But the underlying parts of the stock market and the economy are still fragile and can break at any moment.
All right, Den Cal, frightening picture. As always, thanks for coming through.
All right, take care.
You too. All right, now, one of the things I would say, just speculating on this, in regards to the economy bouncing back with Trump's 90-day suspension, I'm going to give you just a fictional scenario. Let's say you've lost 40,000 in the stock market, but you're going to ride it out. Things are going down, down, down since Trump imposed all these tariffs, and you lost 40,000. Trump comes along and suggests he's going to offer a suspension for the next 90 days. The market starts coming back up. You haven't got your whole 40,000 yet, but let's say out of the 40,000 you lost, you get to the point where you've recouped 25,000 of it back, and you're only down 15,000. I think a lot of folks would cash out at that point, because you know Trump at any day can make a change, and you might just eat your loss. Look, I only lost 15,000 at this point. I'm just going to cut my ties and cash out. I think a lot of folks may be doing it, because this time yesterday, Trump was assuring us that he was not going to suspend those tariffs at all. Now, all of a sudden, it's 90 days, which means one thing fairly clear. Tomorrow, it could be something totally different. Would it surprise anyone at all if Trump tomorrow got pissed off and said, I've decided to change that 90 days to 75, to 50. Maybe the 90 days was not a good thing to do at all. I decided to end it. Would it surprise anybody if he did not wait till that 90 days was up to make another major change? So it would not surprise me if some of the reason the markets are bouncing is because some people are moving around like, fuck, let me go ahead and do something right now while I've recouped some of my losses. Because this guy may do something else that is drastic and take us back down the road where we were headed. I've gotten some of my money back. I'm willing to cut my losses here. And, just like being at a casino. You're sitting at a craps table, a blackjack table. You're down several hundred. All of a sudden, you win on a few hands. Now, the longer you're out there playing, the more likely you are to lose because the house has the odds. But you don't want maybe 70% of your money back. Shit, I'm about to get up out of here. I'm not going to risk it anymore. I'm going to cut my losses. I can live with the 20, 30% I've lost. I'm going to leave now. I believe there's folks that are doing that. I do believe there's folks that are doing that because Trump is just too unpredictable right now. Anyway, looking in the comments, MAGA needs to think, okay, you said MAGA needs to think for him. That ain't how it works there, Kevin. MAGA, for the most part, trusts that Trump will always do what's right for the country. Doesn't matter what path we're going down. MAGA always tends to think, just like when you were a kid, it doesn't matter what's going on. You felt like your mom or your dad had your back. No matter what things are looking like, I can always trust mom or dad to straighten things out. MAGA kind of gives Trump that same appearance, that same type of mindset. Doesn't matter how bad it looks. I know he got my back. He's going to turn things around. Anyway, going back to the box, tap the screen. Get us on up. Wow, we're lower. Get us on up. If that is as low as I'm saying, I'm going to have to hold out until you guys get me up to at least 30,000. Damn. Oh, my spectacles. I got to put them on. Tap the screen. Get the lights up. I haven't solicited that. I do want to go to my next caller momentarily, but tap the screen. Get us up to about 30,000. They will sell them short the market. They will sell them short the market. I think I know what you're trying to say there, Ruben said. Give it time. You guys gave Bidenomics 4 years to fail and didn't complain. The voice inside my head, love the name, but I don't. Look, here's the issue about that. Now, you're saying that we need to give things time under Trump because we gave Bidenomics 4 years to fail and did not complain. Biden didn't promise to do shit overnight. Trump did. Trump didn't say when I get elected, you're going to have to give me time. Trump talked about on day one and in 24 hours and shit. Now all of a sudden that he's in there and he's not delivering, his supporters, well, it's only been 13 weeks. What the fuck? You said overnight. 13 weeks. Can you imagine if you ordered a package from FedEx and you paid to have it delivered overnight and you called customer support wondering where your package is and the customer support agent said, well, it's only been 13 weeks. That ain't what you promised. That ain't what you promised. I get that it takes time. He didn't promise that. He promised that he was going to be so great, he was going to do things quicker than usual. Now all of a sudden it's wrong to hold him accountable to what he actually said. He didn't have to say that. Nobody forced him to say he was going to do shit that quick. He could have simply pointed out what he believed were the failings of the Biden and Harris administration and promised to do better. Nobody made him make these wild-ass exaggerations that you're begging people not to hold him accountable for. He said it. It's on him. Looking in the comments, though, now Trump is a rubber band. He's rubber, you're glue. Whatever he said. I gotta read it, though. She says, no, Trump is a rubber band. He's rubber, you're glue. Whatever you shout bounces off of him and gets to you. Oh, it takes me back to elementary school. That was funny. Looking in the comments, oh, Tim, you're smarter than that. The country is not FedEx, dude. Terrence, yes, I get that the country is not FedEx, but you get the damn comparison. You get the idea that the reason, just like with FedEx, the reason you did business with FedEx is because they promised overnight delivery. The reason you did business with Trump is because he promised to do something really quick, very valuable to the country that Biden could not do, in your opinion, or Kamala Harris wasn't going to do. Now all of a sudden he didn't do it, and it's the people's fault for expecting him to deliver on his promise? They should have known he was lying to their face. Is that what you're telling me? Look, I've never heard where it is wrong to hold a politician accountable to what actually came out of their mouth. Ain't nobody making up that he said this stuff. You know he said it. He should be held accountable, not the voter for actually believing him. He lied. He filed bankruptcy with a casino, right? Doesn't the House always win? You know, I hear that a lot in criticism of Trump. I don't know how he bankrupted a casino. I personally don't know. But yeah, apparently he did do that. Did we get to 30,000? I'm ready to take the next caller. Tap the damn screen. We got plenty of folks here. A minute of tapping will certainly get us up to that. Love to Cruise. Good evening. Welcome to the program. If it brings them up. Love to Cruise. Good evening.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much at all. I'm hearing Trump is taking us down a path to greatness financially. What say you?
Who believe that bullshit?
MAGA.
I mean, I know like guys like MAGA Reacts. You know, if he ever come out of his mama's basement, maybe you see that the world is totally different out here. You know, you can't. He was speaking on food. Do you know how food? You need machinery to harvest this food.
Right.
And the fact that John Deere is getting ready to get a tariff from his Uncle Trump for 200%.
Damn.
That, yeah, because they're threatening to move to Mexico. He said they already got some parts coming from Mexico, but they're planning to move some more parts. And if he does, he said he's gonna tax him 200%.
Where is he getting these numbers from? Do they just make this shit up?
It seemed like it. You can't be. He doesn't spend that much time in the White House to be doing all this figure. Now, if you ask him about what his score is on the golf court, yeah, I believe that. But this other shit he doing, this is ridiculous.
Well, some would say even his scores on the golf course are marked up. I've heard a lot of folks suggest he's not honest about that either.
Yeah, but I mean, how can you think all these tariffs is going to help? And I'm going to tell you, the reason he went for this 90-day thing is because all his little millionaire friends and billionaire friends get on his ass. Because it's affecting their bottom line.
Yeah, well, I gotta assume it was affecting them immediately, but yeah, the bond market apparently is what they're suggesting. It might be, the damage was beginning to become irreparable. But he's been hurting the billionaire friends from day one. In fact, they're hurting more than we are. As somebody pointed out, I think it was Dencal, that all of those folks, all of those tech billionaires that were at his inauguration, they've all lost ridiculous amounts of money. The Zuckerbergs, the Bezos, not about to say Steve Jobs, the Elon Musk, they've all lost insane amounts of money.
Exactly. So then they can't hold on for him to just economy to bounce back, and they put some pressure on him. You know, look, we're gonna stop our donations. Ford and John Deere said, "Fuck you." We're getting ready to move to Mexico and go ahead and make these plants there. You do what you got to do.
You know what I'm wondering? I guess I'd have to ask. I mean, because Trump is not I mean, I know he went to the Wharton School of Finance, so he does have some knowledge in this, and he's obviously a billionaire businessman. But is there anyone actually advising him to make these moves, or is he? I mean, do you think he's doing this on his own, or do you think that there are analysts, economic analysts, telling him that this is a good move to make?
At first, I thought there was analysts, but now I think he's doing this on his own. He strikes me as the type of guy that think he knows everything. And once everybody kisses, I'll show you, and everything will be all right. But you don't know enough. He doesn't know enough, man, to do all this stuff with the economy.
Well,
And he keeps on.
even if he's doing it on his own, then you'd have to assume that there's got to be folks around him telling him to stop. Then, right? I mean, because he does have economists, he does have those people around him. I mean, are they powerless? I mean, is he just ignoring them? Because you got to assume people don't told him. People that he appointed have came and told him this is not good.
Did you see the January 6th? His vice president said, "I can't do this." And he said, "Fuck you, I'm going to unlive you too."
Well, he didn't say, he didn't quite say it like that, damn. But yeah, he wasn't a fan of, Mike Pence.
He doesn't listen. If you're not listening to what he wants, he's not going to listen to you. Fuck you, I'm moving on.
Wow.
Why do you think nobody from his old term wanted to deal with him this time?
Yeah, wow. Just fuck you, I'm moving on. Jesus. I mean, look, I see in the comments someone stated that he is surrounded by a bunch of yes men. Is there not anyone that can get through to him though?
No, I doubt it. The only one is what's his daughter's name?
Ivanka?
He don't want to get through there because he wants to fuck her.
What the fuck? What the hell? Oh, come on. Oh my God. You don't think the guy wants to get involved in incest, do you?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does, man. He does. You heard him when he said,
Oh my God. Oh, you really went up the deep end with that. So the only person that can get through to him is his daughter because he wants to fuck her. No. Oh
Nobody
my.
else can get to him. Nobody else can get to this man. He's not listening to none of them.
Wow. I mean, well, his daughter has to be.
China went up.
Go ahead.
China went up 80% on for tariffs for Americans.
Yeah. So let me ask it to you this way: what are the chances? Because a lot of MAGA believes that even though there's going to be some temporary suffering, China is going to ultimately lose this tariff war, and we're going to win. Do you see that? Do you see it that way as well?
No. Contrary to belief, it is a 50-50 thing. You know, yeah, they need us a little bit, but we're importing a hell of a lot of stuff. And we can never win. And people say, like, MAGA, we'll produce our own. No, you can't produce all that. You can't produce everything the United States needs. With 350 million people living here, and you think we can produce everything. No, we can't.
Well, I would say that even if there was the notion that we could, I'm not for sure we can or not, but even if we can, it would take a long time to get that up and running. All that stuff, a lot of things that folks believe that's going to come out of this, whether it's manufacturing jobs coming back home, whether it is like you're talking about us producing our own goods, it's going to be well beyond Trump's presidency before that stuff happens. I mean, that's not going to happen in the next 3 years. It takes a lot longer than that.
Well, the only thing I can hope on is this. With the next president that comes in, they can resolve our relationships around the world because they know Trump can't get back in there.
I don't. Well, but a lot of the folks that surround Trump that are talking like him could. If I'm one of these other nations, I need more than Trump is gone at this point. I mean, Trump has shown us that if you elect another guy like him, he can break any deal you and I are making right. This is what I'm telling the next president that may be sitting down with me. Your former president, your predecessor has shown me that one man has a lot of power in your country, and even if I make a deal with your country, that next man can break it. I need a lot more security to know that any deal I make with you cannot be broken by one guy. I mean, Trump has really shown the world that the United States is really essentially not trustworthy. All you need is one future president that disagrees with what is done, and he can just undo everything.
I want to believe that the next, at first, I got to admit this. When Trump first ran, I'm like, okay, that's cool. We do need kind of maybe a businessman to run this country.
Did you vote for him?
You know, huh?
Did you vote for him?
Oh, no, I never voted for him. When he first ran, then I heard what he was running on, and he changed my mind. I still believe that we might need a businessman. He's just not the right businessman. That's what I really believe. And I mean, nobody, I would say somebody like Mark Cuban or somebody like that, that actually has a conscience in a way and wants to help the people and can advance us because of his technology knowledge. Trump is, he's just a dumbass. And
you don't have a lot of love for Trump, huh? Folks are going to suggest you got Trump derangement syndrome. You don't have a lot of love for the.
He don't care about me. He don't care about the citizens of the United States. You know, so why should I fuck you too, partner?
Damn.
You know? And hopefully he get out of there and doesn't take us down too far. We're a strong country. And we may maintain some kind of integrity or something with our economy before he gets out of office and just destroys us totally. And that's what I'm hoping on. He just doesn't destroy us totally. And maybe if Congress and the Senate get a pair of nuts, maybe they can go ahead and try to fight him on some of this stuff.
Do you see those nuts growing in under Trump?
What do you mean?
You said if Congress and the Senate gets a pair of nuts. I'm assuming you're talking about the Republican Congress. Do you see that happening within the next year and a half before the midterms?
Once they start losing their seats, yeah.
I don't
Following him, they're just following him now because they're scared to speak up because of MAGA. And like I said, there's a difference between MAGA and Republicans.
True.
I don't believe all Republicans are MAGA.
No.
But I do believe there is a small core, like just say MAGA reacts, who are just in love, want to suck his dick and everything.
Oh my God. Jesus.
And he can't do no wrong or nothing. So, but everybody that's a Republican is stuck on that.
Fair enough. And I agree with that. I don't think all Republicans are MAGA. And I think most MAGAs I don't think all MAGAs are Republicans. They believe in, MAGA is about Trump. I don't think Republicans, I say this all the time, Republicans are about conservative principles, small government, pro-family, pro-Christianity, pro-life, pro-2A. That's what the conservatives are about. MAGA is about what Trump is about. If Trump is pro-2A today, they're good with that. If he's anti-2A to some degree, a lot of them will be like, yeah, I really didn't need an AR-15. I mean, just like you got folks talking about, I don't need my 401k. So MAGA, for the most part, is just pro-Trump. If Trump changes his mind on whatever policy it is, MAGA will change their mind with Trump. I mean, we like Kim Jong-un now. If Trump says tomorrow we need to bomb North Korea, they're okay with that too. So they just whatever Trump is for, they're going to ride with that. I got to move it on, though. I agree with you 100% on that last part, but damn, suck his dick. Jesus Christ.
All right, thanks for having me.
Anytime. Love the cruise. Thank you. Moving on with the program. Tap the screen. Can we get up to 50? FIDDY, 50,000 on the likes. Tap the screen. Get the likes up. They want to respond to a couple super chats. It was a market pump and dump, says Dennis Calhoun. He put out a tweet telling his friends to buy stocks last night, then paused the tariffs this morning. So what you're basically suggesting is that Trump is giving the wealthy, his associates, insider information in regards to these tariffs. I don't know if I'm on that. I'm on board with that, but I'm certainly not one to believe that might not be possible. Wow. Pump and Dump put out a tweet telling his friends to buy stocks last night, then paused the tariffs this morning. Damn. Could make sense. I don't want to condemn Trump yet on something like that, but wow, that's just awful if that's the case. That's about as unpatriotic as you can be. That would be treason almost to the American people. You're just destroying people financially. If what you're saying is true. And I see in the comments, Alter Ego says Trump tweeted 4 hours before the market corrected. Wow. Alter Ego. I haven't said that in a while. Dorjam Bennett. The casino thing failed after his top guys behind it died in a helicopter accident. Oh, didn't know that. For folks who are suggesting that Trump, couldn't even maintain a casino, suggesting he's a horrible businessman, Dorjam Bennett is saying the reason his casinos failed is the top guys behind the casino deal were killed in a helicopter accident. I haven't heard it. I can't speak on it. I do know he was part of, Atlantic City or something like that, the casino, and it went belly up. I don't know anything about the helicopter accident, but Will G says, I told you the other day, Trump was bullshitting with the tariffs just so he would get people to come to, okay, I'm gonna have to put my spectacles on for that. I can't see, just so he could get people to come to, what the hell does that say? Come to Mar-a-Lago. And pay, he was charging what, $5 million? My HDMI cord sucks. That's why the monitor is fucking up behind me. But you said, I told you the other day that Trump was bullshitting with the tariffs just so he could get people to come to Mar-a-Lago and pay the dues just to get a deal and AKA kiss his ass. This is what happens when a court jester runs the castle. I did hear he was charging as much as $5 million to let people speak to him. What's crazy is, because folks were suggesting both Trump and Elon were reliable heads of this country because, look, they're both billionaires. They don't need any more money. In fact, Trump ain't even taking a salary. So these are the kind of people you should want running the country because you know they're not on the take. But oddly enough, both of those guys, Trump and Elon, they've been about none but business since they've been in office. Both of them making a ton of money. Elon is obviously running a host of companies and Trump is selling every damn thing. They sure do not come off like people who didn't really need money. Oddly enough, Trump is damn near 80, so it ain't like he need the money. All his kids are already insanely wealthy, but yet he is still seriously attempting to earn more money. He don't come across as a guy who would not take a salary and is just doing it out of love for this country. And neither does Elon either, by the way. To me, Elon's story never made sense. That he's a gazillionaire, he has more money than anybody, and he just decided to give Trump a donation of $350 million or more just so he could get in there and make America more financially responsible. You ever heard of the phrase, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is? That makes no sense at all. That some insanely wealthy guy would just pay a whole bunch of money to get into the elite circles of American government just to do right by this country and make everybody financially better. He don't want nothing out of it. He just wants to. What businessman does shit like that? Spends a ton of his own money just to help people out at that level, hundreds of millions of dollars. That never made sense. It's pretty clear that Elon Musk was trying to purchase his way into the upper levels of the U.S. government for something in regards to his own personal gain. I mean, the fact that he's the wealthiest man in the world don't mean shit. He clearly wants more money. He's running Starlink, he's running SpaceX, he's running Tesla. He clearly still wants money. He didn't step away from Tesla. He's going back to it. So he clearly wants more money. Will G says, I also told you the other day that the broligarchs wasn't to do is to, okay, I told you the other day that all the broligarchs wasn't to do is reroute the average taxpayer dollar into their pockets. That's what we're talking about, by the way. Smelling like shit just got $6 billion contract through the Space Force. Yeah, Trump was well on his way to outsourcing all of NASA to Elon. Now that Elon has become so unpopular, I don't know if all of that's going to happen, but Elon had bought his way in and was well on his way to just taking over the world. If Elon had just sat down and been a decent individual and not got involved in all of the antics, he probably would still be there, but he decided to go overboard with it. And, well, so be it. Wilgie says, instead of taxes going to NASA, yeah, you said the same thing what I just said about to outsource all of the NASA work to Elon. But you said instead of taxes going to NASA, what do you think Musk is trying to do? Instead of taxes going to the United Postal Service, what do you think Jeff Bezos and DeJoy are going to do? Yeah, I believe that too. Getting rid of and by the way, getting rid of the U.S. Postal Service will hurt Americans. No denying it will hurt Americans. You can still send letters via the post office for under $1. You ain't sending shit in the free market for that. FedEx, UPS, those are the competition to the post office. You're not sending letters for under $1 through UPS or the post office. A lot of corporations send a lot of flyers and mail still. I mean, mail still goes out. You may be using the internet and banking systems to pay your bills, but the mail still moves. And all of the businesses that use mail, they're not going to be able to afford to do that in the private sector for anywhere near as much as the United States Postal Service charge. Getting rid of the Postal Service would certainly hurt Americans. And what Will is saying is that Jeff Bezos, with all that Amazon shit, would be trying to pick up the slack. And Trump would hand it to him. I'm not totally in disagreement with that. I don't think that's that far-fetched. I mean, these folks are hanging around Trump and pumping a lot of money into his administration, and they're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart. Any business, I said this when Elon Musk first started associating with Trump, any business that Elon deals with is going to have a positive impact from the Trump administration. I just didn't think his persona was going to fuck him up so much. I think a lot of folks, once Elon was labeled to be head of Doge, started investing in Tesla. Nobody expected the backlash that Tesla has went through. Everybody thought Tesla was going to probably be a cash cow. A lot of people lost a lot of money in Tesla. Instead of taxes, make sure I didn't miss another super chat there. They just confirmed, whoa, really? They just confirmed Dr. Oz, from Oprah Winfrey fame. Dr. Oz will be running Medicare, but he runs his business Medicare Advantage. Guess what the fuck you think Oz will do? Just a big grift. But I will say this, though. At least Dr. Oz does have a medical background. That's not to say he won't still try to scam the system. But I would rather have somebody like Dr. Oz involved in any medical field or any medical business than somebody like RFK. That's just my opinion. But at least he does have a medical background. At least he does kind of know some of the shit he's talking about. RFK essentially sued a lot of medical businesses. That's the scope of his knowledge, is he has sued medical companies. He doesn't have a medical background himself at all. I wonder if Ashley is still taking showers with Hunter, watching your calling women. I'm assuming you're talking about, okay, I wonder if Ashley, that's one of the Bidens, I guess. I wonder if Ashley is still taking showers with Daddy, with Hunter watching, and you're tickling one out. Door Jim, I don't quite get what you're saying. I know the direction. I mean, I know it's a direct insult to the Biden administration, but I'm not quite. Somebody I see in the comments, JPT Farms, that say you got BDS, Bravo Delta Sam, Biden Derangement Syndrome. I think I know what you're trying to say, but the way it was worded, there's a reason behind everything these people do. Yeah, I agree with you, Joseph. And that reason, though, was supposed to be for the benefit of the American constituency, for the American people. Do you think it is? Going back to the box, I'm not going to get 50,000, I guess. Tap the screen. I was trying to get 50,000. 50. It's enough of you in here that if you tap the screen, get the likes up. We could have got 50,000. Still trying to push for that. We'll go to Gerald MC. Good evening, Gerald. He's talking about Biden showering with his daughter. Okay, that's what I thought, MAGA Reacts. That's what I thought. Gerald, good evening.
Good evening. What's going on, man?
Nothing but the tariffs. Nothing but the tariffs. Good idea? Good idea. How you favoring Trump's tariffs? Holding China accountable for ripping us off? Think it's a good idea?
Come on, bro. Come on now. Come on.
Wait. I'm being told the entire free world is taking advantage of us. You don't think it's a good idea to get this under control?
Let me tell you something. Who owns our debt?
China.
Look it up.
China.
China and Japan. So I'll be like, run me my money, bitch.
Well, I've always said the American debt, trying to cash in on the American debt is almost like, let's say you bet a sports bet with a mob bookie that's paying 100 to 1 and you actually win. If a mob bookie owes you a ton of money that they can't afford to pay, what are you gonna do? Yeah, he owes you a bunch of money, but what you gonna take on the mob? I'm gonna pay you when I feel like it.
I would at least say, run me my money, bitch.
Well, you kind of sound like the beginning of Menace to Society with Samuel L. Jackson, if you know what I mean. I'm gonna pay your monkey ass when I feel like it. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. So I don't know. But at the end of the day, America is a superpower, and it doesn't matter how much we in debt. If they call their debt due, America's going to say, look, it's a matter of Americans' financial security. We can only pay you this much. What are you going to do about it? You know, what did he say at the beginning of the movie? Squeeze that shit. Go ahead, squeeze that shit. What you going to do about it?
Check this out. But, didn't the EU meet with China to start doing deals with China? If I was China, I'd step in everywhere the U.S. stepped out of.
Yeah.
Put my foot in there, and I will become the superpower.
That's probably happening. Listen, I agree with you 100%. That I feel confident that China's going to gain some new friends and trading partners because of what we're doing. I don't know where it's going to happen at, but yeah, we're helping China out in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, big bad Trump talking about, hey, I'm going to put these tariffs, we're going to make this thing. Okay, so how did this end up being that way? He's talking about all these countries are coming back and they're kissing my ass. It's the little bitty ones. It don't matter. Fucking countries, I don't even know where they are on the damn map. Yeah, they kissing his ass.
Yeah, well, because when you really think about it, the countries that matter are going to be China, India, Canada, Mexico. Them countries, exactly. Yeah. I don't think those countries are kissing his ass the way he's making it sound.
Hell no, they not kissing his ass. The bond market bitch slapped him and made him shut up and set it down.
Now you do got a challenger, though. I want you to hear this comment. I'll let you run with it where you may. Draco on YouTube says, another laughing clown. Majority of our debt is domestically owned. So he's suggesting that not only do you have Kamala Harris's laugh, that he's suggesting that you also are wrong about our national debt.
No, just go look at it. Look, he might think I have a Kamala Harris laugh, and I'm an educated person, extremely educated. You know I'm a numbers guy. You know that I'm fairly well off. But seriously, go look at it and understand that it doesn't matter how much they own a lot of it. Japan.
I've never heard that most of our national debt is domestically owned. I've never heard that.
But then look at the bond market. Okay, so let's talk about the bond market. So you're gonna default on the U.S. bonds? Come on, really?
Yeah, I'm watching Fox News The 5, and the only liberal on the program, got Dana Perino and Gutfield and all that. The only liberal actually said that for a time the bonds in Greece had become more valuable than the U.S. bond because of what you're saying. The U.S. bond was starting to fall off. And many believe that's why Trump came to the table and suspended the tariffs.
If the bond market falls off, that means that the U.S. is no longer, they don't have a good standing with paying their debt.
Wow.
So if you're going to do that, then guess what? Having people owe you or you going out, your buying power is gone because nobody trusts you. It's just like having a credit card that's going to bounce. Nobody trusts you. Your credit score went to 200.
Damn. Damn. You know something? I would say this, even with Trump suspending the tariffs, I would say that the trust of the United States has got to be at an all-time low right now because you know that what Trump is promising today can completely change tomorrow. I mean, he's showing you that in the 2.5 months he's been in office, he's made all sorts of, changes to his decision-making process overnight. Like just this time yesterday, he had promised us he was not going to suspend the tariffs. Today, people are celebrating the fact that he did. So I would assume the trust in the U.S. right now, just due to the volatility of that one guy, has got to be at an all-time low right now.
It's got to be. And look, let's go back and let's look at history a little bit. What's Trump's modus operandi? He will go out, he'll start a business process or process, he'll swing for the fence. Okay. If he hits a home run, great. If he misses, he just declares bankruptcy and just doesn't pay anybody.
You don't think he's going to do that to the U.S. government? You can't declare bankruptcy on our...
Exactly. You can't use the same process with the U.S. damn government. It doesn't work that way. There's supposed to be a separation of powers. Who owns from the Constitution, who owns the money? Who owns the purse? Congress. Not him.
Yeah, but right now, while the Congress is Republican, it might as well be him. The Republican Congress is not going to get it.
But he's not even going to them. He's stepping around the whole Congress.
Do you need to even go? Do I need to actually call you and ask you, can I eat that if I know I can go in your refrigerator and you cool with it? I mean, he knows Congress ain't going to interrupt anything he does anyway, so he's not going to them because they don't need to.
All right, let's leave it like that. Let's leave it like that. Whatever he's setting up now, the next person who won't be him, because he will not get elected for another term, gets to do the same damn thing.
You sure he will need to get elected?
Well, that's another whole story. But
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the Handmaid's Tale.
Oh
That's
my
another
God.
whole story.
Well, I'm just simply saying the man is talking about, it ain't like this is liberal fear-mongering or Trump derangement syndrome. He himself has indicated that he wasn't joking about running for a third term. So him, Steve Bannon has talked about it, Bobart has talked about it. I mean, so they are talking about it.
And those are his Himmler and his all his cronies.
Himmler, damn. I heard that. You know, the crazy thing is, because the right is really pro-Constitution, and running for a third term goes against, I believe, the 22nd Amendment. You notice you haven't heard the right really criticizing him at all for talking about running for a third term?
They're fine with it. They're fine with it, mainly because I think the people who are in power are afraid of it. They're afraid to make a move. Look, let's let this fool roll, and we'll just shut up so we can get reelected, and in 4 years, we're done with him. But the problem is, he can wreck this country in 4 years. Somebody asked me the other day, you want Trump to fail? I said no. Because if he fails, I'm fucked.
We all do.
Right. So whatever happens, either this dude is very right or he's very wrong. Look, who destroyed, go back and Google search this. Who destroyed the USFL? Let's go to football. Who destroyed the
That's
USFL?
him. That's him, man.
Trump.
Yeah.
Trump destroyed the USFL. They were a legitimate league that was competing with the NFL, and who destroyed it? And to this day, the commissioner hates Trump for destroying the USFL. Swung for the fence, and he missed.
Well, he likes to take risk. I mean, that's kind of what a businessman does. I mean, overall, Trump has been very successful as a businessman, though. Some of his business ventures didn't make it, but overall, he's been a very successful businessman.
I'll give him that, but you can't run a government like a business. And I've told you this before, the reason you can't run a government like a business is because we don't have a choice to go for those services.
Yeah. But that's what I keep saying. That I agree with you 100% there, because that's what I keep saying. Everybody says we need the country to be ran like a business, and I say the same thing. Like a business, if you don't have enough money for the goods or services of a business, they don't have the time of day for you. You don't want a country that treats people like that. I don't know why people keep saying we need a businessman to run the country.
No, you can have somebody with a business acumen, but they can't run it like a business. Because if I decide today that I'm going to go out and I'm going to take all my employees and I'm going to cut their pay 10%. Just, hey, guys, I ain't paying y'all no more. Why am I not paying? Because I don't want to.
Damn.
What's going to happen? They're going to walk right out. And what's going to happen to my customers? I'm going to be screwed. They're going somewhere else to get their product, right?
Yeah.
In the U.S. government, if he cuts him and Elon or whoever, and then they cut all of these things and they make all of these decisions that affect us, where can we go? Where can I go for my military? Where can I go for my roads and highways, interstate highways? Where can I go for the bridges? I can't go to Walmart and get them. I can't go to Target. If Walmart screws it up, I can't go to Target and get them. There's only one place. It's a monopoly. And it's a monopoly of this country. You can't run this country like a business. It doesn't work.
Well,
You know,
he ran on that, and a lot of folks favor it.
cut stuff, he should have gone to the heads of those departments and said, look, I need a 10% cut from everybody, but I don't want my operations to suffer.
My guess is, in my opinion, he should have isolated where the problem is. Everybody does admit that China might be a problem. He should have just isolated and dealt with China and not impose tariffs on everybody in the free world. It makes no sense that you're attacking Canada and China for the same thing. Canada is an ally. Australia is an ally. Mexico's an ally. Should have just simply dealt with China, and he could have maybe even got our allies to also stop dealing with China if he just isolated China. But going after the whole world makes us look like the bad guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then your beloved MAGA think, we're thinking about America first. It's a global economy. If you're thinking about America first, then make the global economy work for America. Not just shut it down and pull it inside. I keep hearing this people, I heard this lady on another line. Ford said they're going to announce that they're going to build a new plant. And I was like, the cost of these tariffs, I was like, I couldn't get on, but I wanted to say, lady, the last plant I built, and I built them, took me 7 damn years.
It's not an overnight thing.
All of a sudden, it ain't an overnight. It ain't like you're going to throw up a store sign and, you got a plant, you hiring thousands of people. That's a process. And I guarantee you that Ford Motor Company did not decide yesterday to build a plant.
Yeah, it's amazing that how many Trump supporters do seemingly think that he's gonna bring jobs back and they're gonna come back very quickly. I agree with you 100% there. Is that even if Trump does bring jobs back to America, it'll be after his term before that stuff starts to come to fruition. That does not happen overnight. You need permits and all that shit. It costs millions, if not billions of dollars. I mean, it just doesn't happen that quick.
No, I know. And then you gotta hire. If you're hiring an auto plant, what you gotta hire? 20,000 people, depending on the size of it. 1,500. It's not gonna happen overnight. Ford is building a plant right here, an electrical plant, electric truck plant. We're not far from here right now. They've been working on that shit for like 4 years.
Wow.
4 damn years. They've hired a skeleton crew, but they're mostly construction people. Then after you hire the construction people, you get your stuff instructed. Now you got all these engineers that's got to come in and design the manufacturing flow. They got to design the floor plan, how it's going to flow. Now you got to hire the managers to run the shit. Then you got to train them on the Ford Motor process. Then you start hiring the people. That ain't tomorrow.
It could work out to be something worth celebrating that Trump has done if the next president follows it and if all of this stuff come to fruition. But it will be something that Trump started. But like you said, it'll end up happening down the road under some other president. I mean, it just doesn't happen that quick. I got to move it on though, Gerald. But at the end of the day, right now, you're not necessarily on board.
Oh, hell no. You can't be. Look at the dude wiped out $30 trillion in profits, man, from the market. 30 trillion. I'm sorry, not 30. 3 trillion. In what? A week?
Yeah, damn.
That's why his ass is backing off. And he's gonna declare that it's because everybody's kissing his ass, but it ain't. It's the bond market. You destroy the bond market, you can't repair it. It's not easy to repair.
That's what I'm hearing from everybody, from Bill O'Reilly to Geraldo to Cuomo. I heard them all say that today. Appreciate you coming through, Gerald. But it's exactly that. Thank you.
All right, my brother. You have a good one.
Always a pleasure. Thank you. Looking in the comments, I did want to respond to a super chat, but for some reason, the damn screen. I remember when some reason the comment stuck up here. Where is the Garden of Eden? I think it says. I remember when I was like 10 years old, it was great to see stuff coming from the U.S. that was made in the USA. Think we all missed that and wants to bring it back. Okay, I agree with that. We do need to get back to made in the USA, but here's the problem though. It costs more money to purchase things that are made in the USA. There's no denying because it's made with U.S. labor. This is why when labor, the cost of U.S. labor. This is why when Trump suggests that countries are taking advantage of us. In other words, why do we have so many foreign cars on our street, but they don't have U.S. made cars on their street? Because they can't afford them. They can't. You think the Chinese, with what they make per hour, can afford to buy U.S. made goods? The reason their shit is here is because it's cheaper for us to buy their shit than stuff that we make. Remember, we're not about socialism and equality. We're about capitalism. We want to make money. We don't want to make things equal. So capitalists are always going to capitalize on the best opportunity for themselves financially. So Americans would rather buy a $5 t-shirt from Walmart that's made by the Chinese than a $30 shirt that's pretty much the same damn thing, maybe a little bit better quality, that's made by Americans. That's why it happened. It ain't necessarily that the Chinese are preventing us from selling products over there. They can't afford them. They can't afford a Zenith, a Magnavox, or an RCA television. That's some of our brands that would be made by American engineers with American union labor. They wouldn't be able to afford to buy that. But their televisions come in here where they only making maybe $10 a day, and they can sell a TV for $200. We'll buy their shit. They're not going to be able to buy our stuff. And I don't think Trump understood that when he started talking about the difference between their products in our country and we don't have products in their country. They can't afford our products. So that part, the whole made in the USA label, yeah, I agree, miss it as well. I would love for it to come back. But another issue we have to bring up. I made a video on this earlier suggesting that the same folks that have been against for years raising the wages for working Americans, against universal health care for the uninsured, against any kind of tuition forgiveness or tuition loan forgiveness. You're against all of that, but you think Americans suddenly have money to just purchase American-made products. We've been keeping wages down in this country for about a generation now. People buying Chinese goods at a much cheaper cost are still living check to check. You think you're going to make them buy American-made goods and now they're going to have money? It's just, I don't see it happening. So while I would love to see Made in America come back, you got to do something about the salaries and a bunch of other shit before Americans can even afford it. Americans are not in a position to buy American-made goods right now. This administration is the oops government. Is broken, jump onto my private business and bring all your money too. Damn. I will say this. While we're finding so much waste, fraud, and abuse, we talked about this last night. It really is tone deaf for Trump to be planning a birthday celebration that's going to cost taxpayers over $90 million. I haven't heard MAGA complain about that. And they should be. You know damn well if Biden or Obama were to hold a birthday celebration in D.C. that was going to cost U.S. taxpayers $90 million. I think it's $92 million or something like that. You'd be going apeshit. Why isn't the right saying anything about that? You don't need a bunch of tanks parading down the street of Washington, D.C. to honor your birthday. It's just not necessary when you're firing federal workers everywhere. This is not the time to celebrate. Things are going wrong. They're not going great. I just don't understand that. I just do not understand that. And I see the comments, Sherbert says, this is a let them eat cake moment. Yeah, yeah. I think was it a queen that said that back in the day? You know, I want mine. Just let them eat cake. Fuck them, which is what that kind of meant. You are holding a $92 million birthday celebration while you fired a large percentage of the federal government. We're no longer helping out anybody overseas. You're kicking out immigrants for virtually any damn thing now, up to and including tattoos and shit. This is not the time for celebrating. The country is divided as hell. And then it's $92 million you got to pay for that? To me, that's really tone deaf. Read the room better. Drumpf, not Trump, Drumpf is Trump's German name before it got changed for those that does not know. They didn't know. I didn't know that. DRUMPF. So you telling me that Trump originally had a German name? DRUMPF. Majin Boo, welcome to the Patriot level. Appreciate that, Majin. Thank you very much. Trump is not going to help the American people, says Majin. Well, a lot of people think he is. MAGA believes that he is. And I will say this. He has already helped the American people in some ways. It's more, as opposed to being economic, it's kind of more, I can't think of the word I'm trying to use, but for the most part, it's more mental, such as he has helped the American people that supported him by protecting the integrity of women's sports. There is no actual value in that for the average American, but they like knowing that if a transgender boy wants to play girl sports, they can't do it. So for them, that's a win. It's a win that doesn't translate into anything, but they like it. You know, a lot of the stick it to the libs victories that Trump has given the right, they're very happy about that. As I stated, they're just here. Ceremonial is the word I'm looking for. It's a ceremonial victory. It doesn't translate into anything of value, but it's a ceremonial victory. Kind of like watching your favorite sports team win a championship. You get to celebrate. They won the Super Bowl. They won the World Series. You get to it's a ceremonial victory. It doesn't make any change in your life at all, but it makes you happy to know your team won. And that's kind of what Trump is doing. A lot of these victories are ceremonial right now. The LGBTQ stuff is ceremonial. A lot of the immigrant stuff is ceremonial. You know, you kicked out an immigrant that was, you know, on a liberal campus speaking out against the United States. Get them out of our country. They don't like America, kick their ass out. It doesn't translate into anything for you, but it's ceremonial. I'm glad to see Trump doing things that are in the best interest of the integrity of this country. A lot of folks on the right like that stuff, but make no mistake about it, it is a ceremonial victory. It doesn't put food on your table. It doesn't help you out with anything in your life financially. It just makes you feel good. That's all it is. Ceremonial to them, harmful to others. That is true too, Mike. But that's what they kind of want. They voted for that. They voted for Trump to be harmful to illegal immigrants because they want them out of the country. They voted for that, which is why when you see videos of Trump doing things that folks feel is cruel to immigrants, you'll see a lot of MAGA in the comments saying, this is what I voted for. They voted for it. So it is what it is, but that's kind of what they wanted. Real quick before we go on to the next caller, Bozo got $3 billion contract through NASA. You're talking, Bezos. What did Jeff Bezos get a $3 billion contract for? Through NASA? Really? To do what? I guess maybe some deliveries or something? Fair enough says, where is the Garden of Eden? Thank you. I don't know. I couldn't reach your comment at first up there as clear as I wanted to, but I agree with you. The Made in America label is something that we all miss. But I also miss a decent paycheck. I miss the unions in the country. I miss having real health care back in the day when my father was around working for the phone company. They could go to the doctor with an insurance card and they just got treated. There were no bills following them home, co-pays. In the late 70s, 80s, you had Blue Cross, Blue Shield. You went to the doctor, you handed them your insurance card, and they just treated you. And that was it. Nowadays, you go to you go hand them your insurance card, you're going to pay a co-pay or something right there, and there's a host of shit they may not treat you for, and you still get a bunch of bills in the mail. Didn't used to be like that. Yep, Trump is German by his father's side. I'm aware he's German. I didn't know he was born with a German name, though. I did not know that. Almost $4 a gallon in Wisconsin. Thanks, dumbass Trump, says Kevin. Did gas go up under Trump, though? I thought the price of fuel was going down. I'm hearing the price of oil is only $60 a barrel right now. I thought gas went down under Trump. Majin Boo says same place that Arnold Schwarzenegger is from. Schwarzenegger's not from Germany, though, is he? He's from some other Eastern European country. I don't think Schwarzenegger is German. I mean, it's close enough, but I don't think it's Germany. Going back to the box, Austria. Yeah, Austria. That's what I thought. Austria, yeah. You fucked that up with Obamacare. How? Chris, state that how. Because a lot of folks on the right are using Obamacare, or using the Affordable Care Act. So let me know how. Jeremy, good evening. Welcome to the program. We're talking about the tariffs. Do you believe that Trump is on the right direction with these tariffs?
Oh, 110%. These people need to stop bitching. By the way, did you have Gangster Grandma, our math minus the A enthusiast?
Not tonight. Not tonight. She hasn't been through.
Oh, okay. She took a little break from the nose candy. Good to know. Anyway.
Cold. That's very cold.
Yeah, I know. Just like my cold, bitter heart.
So let me ask you: if Trump is on the right direction with the tariffs, then why did he rescind them for 90 days?
Well, here's why. Tariffs have different purposes at different rates. So I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to flex his muscles right now. He's trying to flex
on the world, on the whole world.
Yeah, and he's trying to remind people, I can do this. You need to fall in line. And he's getting people to come to the table. Now, some of these tariffs are going to be a little bit differently used. Like all the ones in China, he's not doing it to flex on China. He straight up just wants to hurt China. Because China does rip us off by a lot. And by the way, this idea that it would take years to build a lot of these factories, myth. You want to know why it takes so long to build everything?
Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy. Yeah, bureaucracy. Yeah, it's gonna take. Yeah, it's bureaucracy. But if you can't say you want to leave everything up to the states, because the states are going to leave that bureaucracy there. So that ain't gonna change.
Actually, it's better than having it at the federal level. The larger the government you leave it up to, the more likely there is for abuse.
Well, we've seen what happened in Palestine, Ohio, for instance, with the train dumping a bunch of toxic materials. If you start removing regulations so people could do things quicker, it increased the likelihood of them fucking up and killing people.
That's only to a certain degree. Largely, a lot of these regulations don't do shit. A lot of them don't do shit other than make things unnecessarily complicated. There is a lot of times where there's just red tape. This is the delusion that a lot of Americans who aren't particularly educated, like DenCal, will get into.
You naming names. You are dropping names tonight. Damn.
I am. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm sure Obama will give them a hug. Anyways, look, here's the thing, okay? A lot of times, regulations, they're really just a way of shutting down the little guy when it comes to businesses. As in businesses like for putting out necessary regulations, especially, I'll tell you this right now, especially in infrastructure. Oh my God, they love regulations. OSHA is so fucking useless in a lot of ways. Ask anyone who's actually worked.
But hold on. Do you think the American worker would be better off without OSHA?
Heavily minimized OSHA, absolutely. Oh my God, there are so many. I know so many people who work as electricians, as plumbers, or as all sorts of different people in the construction world. They're like, do you realize how oftentimes we just don't give a fuck about OSHA when the foreman's not around? And even the foreman usually is pretty cool with them. OSHA doesn't do shit. A lot of what they do is they just put unnecessary rules and regulations that actually make it and more expensive and more complicated to get things done. And the only reason why a lot of these bigger businesses are okay with it is because they charge by the month. So the longer it takes them to get a project done and like to build a road, why do you think roads take forever? They don't. You lived in Australia for a while. In Australia, they don't take nearly as long.
I can't speak on. Yeah, I don't know enough about that to talk about how long it takes. But I will say that when you look at the amount of traffic that's on American roads is significant. And I even lived in Sydney for a short time, which is the largest metropolitan area in Australia. Our traffic system, it probably need more time to build roads in this country because the roads are going to take far more of a pounding than they would in a place like Australia.
Okay, number one, that's what she said. Number two, not really. Okay, if you
That was good. That was good.
Thank you. I'm glad to make you happy. So I'm always happy when it's big, bald, half black man is happy. Anyway.
Okay, you're overdoing it now, but keep going.
Okay, I'll calm down. Look, here's the thing. Look, a lot of regulations just are not necessary. I've seen this. We see the same thing in healthcare. Do you want to know something that's actually a legitimate law in this country?
What?
When it comes to healthcare, you cannot build a hospital within a certain amount of mileage of another hospital. Otherwise, and that's done in order to keep hospital monopolies around.
It depends on where that's at. That law does. I know places where I used to deliver beds and shit like that during the pandemic to intensive care. I know places where hospitals are literally across the street from each other. So that law does not exist everywhere. There are different hospitals that are pretty damn close to each other.
Yeah, there are some, but guess what? Those are usually the ones with better care. The thing is, competition cannot work if you don't allow it to work. You want to know something else that the government does wrong because of regulations? The reason why the Postal Service even exists in the first place is because it's illegal to have certain types of mail go through private organizations. You can't send them any government documents or any checks through private mail. And you want to know what's the most hilarious thing? I worked for FedEx for a year and a half. And you want to know what we did all the time? We processed their mail. We literally made up for the slack of the USPS on a regular
Do you
basis.
believe America would be better off if we get rid of the USPS?
Oh, fuck yeah. And if we allowed more, and if we loosened up regulations so smaller companies could compete with FedEx.
But ain't no smaller company gonna guarantee they can deliver a letter anywhere in the country for like 60 cents. That ain't gonna happen. You're gonna pay more to send mail if you get rid of USPS.
Please, as if you want to know how FedEx was started?
Wait. Is that wrong though? You're telling me if you get rid of it right now you can send a letter. I don't care if you're sending it from Miami to Juneau, Alaska. You can send that letter for like 60 cents or whatever the price of a stamp is. You're telling me if you get rid of the USPS, you'll still be able to do that?
Not right away, but regionally, yes.
I'm talking about from Miami to Alaska. You're talking about from Miami to Jacksonville. That's a big difference.
I know, but again, that's where larger companies need to have. It'll eventually grow to that if you allow the market to do its job. I'm not a zero regulation guy, but I am very much a low regulation guy because a lot of times businesses like FedEx and like UPS actually lobby for bigger.
Jeremy, I hear what you're saying and used to work for FedEx. I see Sherbert in the comments saying, Jeremy, you don't know shit. I don't know. I think what you're saying, Jeremy, is just factually false. You're not going to replace USPS when it comes to delivering a letter for the average individual for that low-ass price. I mean, you worked at FedEx. You know you can't send a letter of any type through FedEx for less than $1. It's just not happening. Nowhere near that.
Yeah, you can't send it for less than $1, okay? But trust me, that's just a matter of time. That's not something that.
How long has FedEx been in business?
How long has the USPS actually made it illegal to send anything? But that's
but you're answering my question with a question. I mean, seriously, how long has FedEx and United Parcel Service been around, and they still have come nowhere near what the USPS charges in a letter?
UPS has been around, I think, around 90-ish years. I don't know. I am not sure exactly, and I know FedEx is younger. See, I know that FedEx. Okay, so someone's just put in the comments. They said 40 years FedEx has been around.
Okay, and of course, like I said, they're nowhere near as inexpensive to send letters. You know, let's say for instance, you want to send your grandma a Christmas card or something like that. To do it via FedEx is probably going to cost double or triple what it would through the USPS.
That's until they get competition. I mean, you gotta understand.
Wait, you telling me Emory and DHL and all, there's competition already exists?
In a highly regulated market where the little guy is strapped for cash compared to the larger companies that have been around for a long time. Okay? And even then, a smaller company, FedEx has been around for a shorter period of time than both USPS and UPS has. Okay? And guess what? The original founder, he actually was able to create FedEx by going into by like losing a bunch of money over like 5 years, and eventually gambling and getting all his money back. Okay, and I'm not even joking about this. He went to a casino and won just enough money to get angel investors to invest.
I can't speak. I don't know anything about that, but I just, you and I disagree on the notion that getting rid of USPS will not hurt the American that uses that system. I mean, it used to have, if it fits in a box that ships and all of that, the USPS is always going to be cheaper than FedEx and DHL and United Parcel. I don't think
it's also going to suck way worse, as it always has.
Does it really?
Yeah. I mean, why do you think I was literally sorting and stuff that said United States Postal Service when I was at FedEx? I'm like, and then I looked. You can look it up right now. Like literally, look it up right now. So the United States Postal Service literally has a contract that is up to $1 billion a year with FedEx.
Yeah, but how does it for the average USPS consumer? How does it suck? If you put something in the mail, it generally reaches its destination. If you go to the post office and ship a package, they do have confirmation codes and all of that. If you ship something through the post office, it reaches its destination. What sucks?
Okay, Tim, let me ask you a question. If Burger King had to buy most of their meat and their cheese and their buns from McDonald's, and even had to hire McDonald's crew to come in and supplement them, would you say maybe Burger King isn't doing that well?
If I go to Burger King and I want a Whopper, and it's served to me by somebody in a McDonald's uniform, but it tastes like a Whopper, they're doing their job to me. I don't care what they dressed in. I mean, I'm being honest. I get your point that you are over there sorting USPS mail. I get what you're saying. We know USPS is subsidized by the government. No, it's not the most efficient. But for the consumer, it is. For the consumer, their only purpose is to put mail in the mailbox or go and ship a package from the post office and get it from point A to point B. For the consumer, it's as efficient as it needs to be. It's doing its job. That's all they want.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, all I'm saying is you would have a lot quicker service, a lot more efficient services, and a lot better mail services if you did like.
Yeah, but you're admitting it's at double, if not triple the price.
Yeah, well, you would pay. Well, FedEx would become a premium service as well. A lot of other competitors would actually do it for less. You could probably do it for only a few cents if you let the free market do its thing. Look at every country that it allows the free market to actually handle.
You're not gonna sit the free market. The free market is not going to get you a letter from Miami to Juneau, Alaska for under $1. The free market is never going to get to that point. I mean, it's just not enough people sending letters from that distance. Whereas in the post office, they can guarantee you can send a letter no matter how rural the area you live in is, or no matter how rural the area your letter is going to, they can guarantee you they'll get a letter from your location to that location for under $1. The free market is never going to get to that because they're going to charge you more if you live in rural areas where they don't have a lot of people going to pick up mail and they don't have a lot of business out there. They're going to charge you more money. The USPS is.
What about Amazon? Look at what Amazon already does. They're able to ship anywhere in the world.
Okay.
They'll service rural areas. They will service rural areas. Okay, you just got to let them get powerful enough where they can.
And what happens in the interim? You just don't get mail?
Better. Here's here's a good way of looking at it. Here's a good way that I would implement it if I was that. I wouldn't get rid of USPS, I should say, right away. What I would do is I would just loosen up a lot of regulations that are unnecessary, tighten ones that are necessary, and increase punishments for the ones that are necessary, the few that there are. Watch as more competitors come into the markets, and then eventually phase USPS out. The Postal Service can eventually just get phased out pretty easily.
Maybe. I'd have to, I mean, we have to get the intricacies of it, but right now I would definitely not get rid of the USPS. Maybe in the future, maybe what you're saying, if it culminates into something, I don't know, but right now I wouldn't get rid of it. But I got to move it on, Jeremy, as always. Thanks for coming through.
Absolutely. And one thing before you go, Handsome.
Sure.
Thank you for always being someone who tries to make sure that you get down to the truth.
Never heard that shit before, but thank you. Appreciate it. I like to let the people speak. If it gets down to the truth, we can take that. But a lot of people say we hear a lot of bullshit. But nevertheless, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you, man.
No problem.
All right, moving on with the program. Real quick in the comments, somebody asked a question I thought was a legitimate question. Draco says, Tim, why ship with UPS and FedEx if Postal Service is cheaper? Some people may think that FedEx and UPS is better. Maybe it's faster. I mean, there's a host of different reasons. But fact is, if you ship through the post office, your package generally gets where it's going. I mean, it generally does. It just costs more money to ship through FedEx and UPS. So why use it? Same reason why people might buy Nikes instead of shoes from Walmart. It could be a host of reasons. But and I think there may be some conveniences to FedEx. I don't know. I'd have to really think about it. But I'm not hearing where you ship through FedEx or UPS and the reliability is way up here and the post office is way down there. If you ship through the post office, your shit gets where it's going too. We have the best postal service in the world, says Travelman. All right. These jobs will go to private sector companies. There's no way in hell, if I'm working for the U.S. Post Office, I wouldn't give up my post office job to work for the private sector. I just doing the same thing. No, you getting rid of the union. Under Trump, government jobs suddenly have not become a great thing anymore. You got a government job, that's always been a good thing, especially for folks who have a minimal education. Maybe you just came out of high school and you don't have a college degree. Getting a government job used to be some good shit. You were guaranteed a pension, good health care and all. Under the Trump administration, getting a government job is suddenly not all that great anymore. But there's no way I would want to give up a government job working for the post office to go work for FedEx, for instance. No, I'm good. I'm gonna stay on this post office job. It's just the job security, the pay, all of that is likely better. And I don't work in the field, and I can tell you that. Anyway, looking in the comments, Mike says make no sense. Jeff Bezos owns Blue Origin space rockets. That is right. He does own that. And Trump is, because Elon doesn't own any. Well, he has Starlink and he has SpaceX. Is Elon and Bezos competitors at all in this? I know that Trump did not sit all of those gazillionaires in the front row of his inauguration for no reason at all. I think we all knew that. He actually sat his appointed administrative appointees behind the billionaires. It was pretty clear that something was going on there. Well, now you're starting to see it. MAGA ain't shit, says Will G. Everything Jeremy is saying is a bunch of bullshit. This is why Biden did the CHIPS and Infrastructure Acts, to bring infrastructure here because we don't have the infrastructure. You know, I heard Chris Cuomo say the same thing earlier, and he was saying that if Trump really wanted to bring jobs and stuff back, he would not have been so critical of some of the things that Biden tried to do. I heard him say that just earlier, what you're talking about. He got the contract in 2023. You're talking about Jeff Bezos? Wow. All right, going back to the box. We'll continue on. Tap the screen. We're getting close to 70. I'm going to ask for about 80. Tap the screen, get the lights up, if you will. That says Betterment Black. What does that say there? Good evening. Welcome to the program. Oh, I got Mike. Mike, good evening.
What's going on, man?
Not much at all. Now I'm assuming you're not a fan of these tariffs, as we've been discussing tonight.
No, I haven't been, but again, like I said, nothing surprises me.
Is it possible that anything good could come from the Trump tariffs, in your opinion?
Not for anybody else but the 1%. I mean, honestly, I mean, if you think about two things. First of all, it was definitely market manipulation at the least. It was market manipulation.
You're talking about like insider trading almost.
Oh yeah, 100%. Listen, anybody. I mean, he's essentially he's the president of this thing called the global market. I mean, well, actually the U.S. market, I should say. Mm-hmm. And so for him to put out a tweet like he did right before he released those tariffs, that's like a CEO of a publicly traded company.
What did he say? Now, I'm not up on this. What did he say exactly in that tweet?
He said, and I don't have it in front of me, but I can look it up while we're talking. But he was basically just talking. I'm gonna pull it up here real quick, which is ridiculous. I mean, 4 hours before he made the comment, something about this is a good time to get rich or something like that, and then and then you do what you do. It's just it's. Listen, people.
Yeah, I see Alter Ego in the comments he stated it's a good time to buy.
There it is. Thank you, Alter Ego. It's
God.
a good time to buy. 4 hours before, and then he does what he does. I mean, you can't make this shit up. But this is why he wants to control. This is why he's firing everybody, and he wants loyalists so nobody pushes back. Because if the head of the SEC and FTC were still there. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the Department of Justice and all of those people that aren't quote unquote loyal, his last administration would have never let this happen.
What are the chances if the Democrats? What are the chances if the Democrats win in the midterms? They'll come after him for some of this shit, maybe via impeachment, even a third impeachment.
I think it's very high. Matter of fact, I think if the Democrats win in the midterms. It won't be a close victory. Number one, I don't think it'll be close at all. If they win, it won't be close, which means that they'll have the numbers to do what they want to do. They'll have that 60. They'll have that. 60,
you think it'll be that? You think it'll be that much of a victory where they may get a 60-seat majority?
Tim, if this keeps.
Damn.
Listen. Here's the thing. People are being hurt, and it's not over. It's not close to being over. If you look at what they're trying to do right now, they're still trying to fire more people. Still trying to dismantle. The government. This isn't over. This is just a pause. Like he said, this isn't over. And
so you mean there is hope for the transgender after all? 60-seat majority is about to become a liberal world, and Trump is going to kind of sit there and watch it happen.
But here's the thing. He's doing it. I mean. Listen, the last 2 days, every time he's opened his mouth, he's been an utter idiot. I'm including when the Dodgers are there. You saw that bullshit when he was talking to the Dodgers. They were playing the audio when the Dodgers visited the White House, and you didn't hear that shit.
No, I'm trying to think of what you said. I may have heard the clip. Keep going.
Or he's talking about how they ran out of. Man, you know how he talks in circles like he's been drinking and he's been on that brown liquor. You know what I'm talking about? He sound like he's sitting outside the gas station. You know that guy?
Yeah.
That want to clean your windows.
He talks like a typical New Yorker. Ain't that what they voted for?
Well, shit. I don't know if they wanted him intoxicated or impaired, but they got it. But I mean, but think about today when he's out there talking. He started turning around and trying to blame it on Biden.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I saw that today. Yes, he was right outside in front of the wall there. I did see that.
Yeah, he's talking about Biden, and it's his fault. I mean, it's just he thinks so little of his supporters that he believes he can just walk out there and say whatever the hell he wants.
He definitely, for my beloved MAGA that often talk about Trump derangement syndrome, whatever the definition of Trump derangement syndrome is, he definitely has Biden derangement. I mean, he cannot talk without criticizing Biden. He cannot hold a speech without Biden's name coming up in it. So for anybody who has whatever definition you have for Trump derangement syndrome, Trump has got to be fitting that definition for Biden. He really hates that dude.
He does. And the funny thing about it is, you know, gas prices in certain parts of the country are going down, but he hasn't done anything to bring them down. Like
Well, it's happening under his watch, though.
And again, I'm not even taking that away from him, but he hasn't done anything, is my point. He literally hasn't done anything pointedly to bring gases down. It's just coming down under him. It's the one thing he's kind of left the fuck alone, right? And didn't touch it. Whatever it's happened is happening, right?
Well, shit, he ain't doing nothing to bring down the price of eggs either. He's taking credit for that.
I know, but at the same time, when shit's fucked up, he's blaming Biden today.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah, he doesn't like. Yeah, he has.
Oh, first of all, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Tim. It's 138 people in here. Tap the screen, share the live. We got to get Tim up to 80,000.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
My bad, man. I'm slipping.
Thank you. You're doing good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No, I got to get better. But I want to get to something that Jeremy the janitor said. I only say that because he just be sweeping this shit up like he just. He just sweeps up all Trump's. OSHA has always been a good thing. Okay, yeah. I mean OSHA does a lot. OSHA has said, put it this way, Tim. If OSHA is not a good thing, think how many more lawsuits corporate America would be having around health. When we talk about mesothelioma, when we talk about asbestos abatement, when we talk about all those things that OSHA requires you to do, you know, and keep those records for 10, 20, 30 years or so. So OSHA has been good for the American people. Again, I'm
going to say, while I agree with you more than Jeremy, I don't totally disagree with Jeremy. There are places where government regulation gets in the way of normal progress. Bill Maher from HBO, he had Gavin Newsom on his program recently, and he was talking about how difficult it is to put solar panels on the house in regards to, because his house burned down during the fires. And he was like, I got another place and I put solar panels, and he was talking about all the regulation where they got to come out and inspect my roof before the panels and then after, and I got to pay for all the inspections and shit like that. There are places, even with OSHA and things like that, where government regulation does get in the way of progress. So what Jeremy said isn't 100% inaccurate.
No, yeah, I mean, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, I don't believe that everything there's a lot there. But at the same time, this is what happens when you're talking to the extremes on either side, right? They just want to just get rid of it, right? And it's like, well, that's not the damn answer. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not, the answer's not to just get rid of it because they're shit or they're terrible, like Jeremy was insinuating. Now, there may be layers of bureaucracy in there that may or may not need to be there. But again, we're talking about that right now. I mean, is that what they ran on? I mean, damn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about conversations that had never come up in the political cycle at all.
Yeah, I think Trump had the chance to be a phenomenal president if he had just did the stuff he ran on. You know, took care of the border. I mean, you want to score some points with the anti-LGBTQ crowd, get the economy back on track. If he had just done the shit he ran on, you know, all of this Greenland stuff he didn't run on, all of these, I mean, just focus his tariff war on China. I think he had the opportunity, even at the you know, criticism of the liberal side, though. I think he had a chance of being very effective, but he's taken on so much at once.
Yes, and boy, here's the thing, Tim. This is why I push back on that is because he's still, even part of his agenda, a large part of his agenda was harmful to marginalized communities because he wanted to do this mass deportation and he knew it was going to hurt families. He didn't give a shit.
America's okay with that. I'm not going to argue.
I know. Yeah. So maybe he would have been successful for MAGA, right?
Well, Mike, you could be Mike. You got some of our most successful presidents in history have owned slaves. You can tear up marginalized communities and still be considered a very good president because they're such a small percentage of the population. Certainly when you talk about folks that are not even here possibly legal, that nobody, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but a large portion of America don't give a shit about them. So yeah, it's hurting marginalized communities, but that wouldn't have gotten in the way of him being a great president.
Well, I mean, it would. Well, I guess to those supporters, yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with you from that perspective. But
I mean, even to Hispanics, it ain't like Trump did not make it clear he was going to be harsh and draconian to Hispanics, and they voted him in.
oh no, I know. And the sad part is, and they're finding out. You know, did you hear what the courts just ruled that that the IRS data can be used
To help,
for
to help ICE. Yeah, to help ICE.
Yeah, I mean that's some dirty shit right there, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so for the people that don't understand, so if you just filed your taxes, that's your last address, that's your last place of residence, that's the last place you work. They know all that shit. So now they're going to use the information from the IRS to pull and go at. Man, that's.
Yeah, but if you're here illegally, do you even file taxes at all?
You know, that's a good question. I know they pay into the taxes, so they got to have there has to be a payment.
I don't. But once again, this is one where I'm going to tell you, most Americans don't give a damn. If you're here illegally and you file taxes, I don't think most Americans would care if the IRS works with ICE to find your ass. You're here illegally. I mean, they don't care about that.
You have no argument. I believe that people don't give a rat's ass about that. But here's the part that they're not factoring in. If he's successful, you got to replace that labor somewhere. That's why Florida is loosening their child
13.
labor laws.
13. They're letting people work at the age of 13.
Yeah, 13, longer hours on school nights and longer shifts with no breaks. For the children. So that's what I'm saying, Tim. He sold you on that, but he didn't let you read the rest of the book. And the month of chapter that he ripped out is going to bend you over and bang you out. And then what's going to happen? I mean, how are they people just taking this? How are people just dismissing this as it's not a big deal, right?
Because
Put
folks,
children back to work.
Because make children work again. That's a different form of MAGA, but simply put, folks believe that no matter what it looks like, Trump is here for the American people. He's here for the country. He's a true patriot, and you just need to stay the course. As I seen in one right-wing commentator's comments, it says, "There's going to be rough seas ahead, but you got to trust the captain and stay the course." This is how MAGA feels. Now it sounds like something straight out of the Titanic, but that's what. I mean, it literally sounds like a line from the Titanic, but they believe that.
I couldn't get it out. Like whoever wrote that was that motherfucker playing that violin, right?
Yeah, what did the guy say? You looks like you're gonna get your headlines today, sir. When they found out they had hit an iceberg, yeah. I mean, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like a line straight out the movie.
It absolutely does, Tim. And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna let you go. Well, let's talk about this damn stupid ass parade. That's how you know people are not sincere about what he ran on.
Yeah.
They just cherry pick the eggs and all, because everything that he said and what they're doing, they can't reconcile. And then it's okay to spend almost $100 million on a so-called. I mean, 100.
I have no argument. I can't even pretend to play devil's advocate on that. If you're complaining about waste, fraud, and abuse, and you ain't saying shit about a $92 million parade for the man's birthday, yeah, you just a fucking fool. I like to be able to play devil's advocate. There is no counter for that. That is about as hypocritical as you can get.
It is. And I'm gonna end with this. Last week when I was on your show, I came up and there was a comment there was some comments by Trey in the comment section. Mm-hmm. And Trey and I normally go back and forth in the comments. And what I did when you brought me up, I actually went in on Trey in the comments. And I typically don't do that with him. He and I typically keep it in the comments. He never comes up on your show. And so I should have left it there. And he and I would text it back directly about that, because I'm not up here trying to disrespect nobody. So I told him that was my bad. I should have left it in the comments where it was, because he never comes up and speaks. So I shouldn't have spoke. So I just wanted to say that on your show, brother, because at the end of the day, it ain't about tearing nobody down. We're trying to figure this shit out, and there ain't no place for that. So
I appreciate that, because that's the motto of the show. We never talk down to guests. I do appreciate that. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Gotta go. All right.
All right, bro.
Anytime. All right, and he is right. Listen, at the end of the day, we all got different political perspectives we present on the program, but that's one of the solid premises I've made from day one, is that not only do I favor free speech, allowing you to state your case without any concern of the host trying to block, ban, or censor you, I also don't talk down to my guests. You may have had that happen to you. If you lean right and you go into liberal forum, they're all insulting you, calling you a racist or whatever. If you lean left and you go into a right-wing forum, they're calling you socialist or libtard. We don't do that here. We just don't do that. I believe everybody has their right to speak. And damn it, nobody has to agree with you. Just because you are an American citizen doesn't mean another citizen have to agree with the shit you think. We all vote based on our own individual causes. So we don't talk down to guests, and we certainly don't engage in that behavior. Appreciate my last caller for pointing that out and clearing it up. Looking in the comments real quick, the parade talk and budget is all lies, says Draco. No, it's not. Actually, that's not true. The mayor of D.C. has confirmed that the parade, she's already confirmed that they've been contacted about it. So you're trying to say that the notion that Trump is going to have a parade is a lie. No, you're actually promoting misinformation yourself. I'll see if I can find something on it real quick, but yeah, the parade is happening, or at the very least, it's in the works. So yeah, you're definitely getting that one wrong. I think you could probably do a little bit of research. Here you go. This one here is looks like it's only 1 day old. There's plenty of, by the way, there's plenty on this on the internet. So yeah, if you haven't heard it, it's probably because you just haven't looked it up. But this is a clip I'm hearing for the first time, but this is in regards to that Draco on YouTube horizontal.
Trump is getting his parade. The president is said to be planning a grand military parade in D.C., fulfilling a dream he's had since 2017 when he and First Lady Melania were guests at the Bastille Day celebrations in France. He watched as fighter jets flew overhead and tanks rumbled down the boulevards of Paris and expressed a desire to replicate the spectacle in Washington.
It'll be like no other. It'll be special.
But when the cost estimates came in at a whopping $100 million, the plan was scrapped. Now it's back on.
It appears President Trump is planning himself a parade.
The date, Saturday, June 14th, happens to fall on Trump's 79th birthday. Coincidence?
Apparently, we understand would include soldiers, armored vehicles, tactical vehicles, and more. A celebration that is much more familiar in settings outside the United States, whether that be China, Russia.
Okay, it is very dictator-like. I'll just say that. I see the comments. Creed is saying I can dig it to show off our military. $92 million to show off your fucking military? When you're firing a bunch of people? When you're claiming we got a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in government? You suddenly have money to do this? To me, it just sounds like a tone-deaf administration. People are really suffering right now, whether it's the stock market, whether it's retirement plans, whether it is federal employees that have lost their jobs outright, and you're going to sit there in a high chair to celebrate your birthday while tanks go down the street. All of those jobs people could still have if you weren't having your birthday celebration. It just seems tone deaf to me, at least in my opinion. I just don't see it. Looking at comments here, they say with the tariffs, the iPhone, wow. You know, I heard this. I heard it was a lot more though. You said they say with the tariffs, an iPhone will cost $2,300. And if the phone was produced here, yeah, I heard $30K. I did hear that. He's saying that with the Trump tariffs, the price of an iPhone is going to go up to $2,300. So that's about a little less than double. Because an iPhone probably costs you about $1,500 or more now, I think. But he said it will go up to $2,300, which is negligible when you think about you pay a certain amount per month in addition to your phone bill. Let's say you get a $2,300 phone and you pay in $50 installments. You usually pay on it for a couple of years or whatever. You can still kind of do that, but if it goes up to $30,000, it's a wrap. And he's saying that the iPhone with Trump's tariffs will go up to $2,300, but if they make that phone here, it'll cost $30,000. Yikes! Yeah, with American labor, American engineers, all that. American labor, 30 grand. Damn. Jeff Bezos and Musk were always competitive. Well, now they're kind of on the same team, so to speak. I didn't know they were competing for a space like that. Can we deport Democrats and keep illegals? No, because if you deport the Democrats and you keep illegals, the illegals will go for the most part be Democrats too, and soon you'll be getting rid of them. If you get rid of the Democrats, the illegals would be stupid to stay behind. You think you're not going to be next? I mean, it's like watching Adolf invade Poland and the surrounding nations. What do you think's going to happen once he's done with Poland? Check your history books. Maxwell Smart, that's it. Illegals are more beneficial than Democrats. Let's deport Democrats. They have been replaced with illegals, are more patriotic than Democrats. You know, Tulsi Gabbard used to be a Democrat. Hell, Trump used to be a Democrat. Imagine what would have happened if they had deported him back in the 80s. You wouldn't have him now. Maybe you might be onto something. Will G says the enumeration beyond entry, EBE program, which allows the Social Security Administration to automatically issue Social Security numbers to eligible migrants. They're going to probably get rid of all of that shit. They're going to make it so that it's going to be almost impossible to migrate here. I mean, unless you got the 5 million that Trump was talking about, the average person trying to cross the southern border legally, not talking about illegally, legally, that's just going to probably become almost impossible to do as Trump time in office goes on. It's going to get harder and harder to do that. It's just like with the transgenderists, an anti-trans administration. It's an anti-immigrant administration. They don't want to admit that. You know, we're not anti-immigrant, just come legally. No, you're going after the legal methods as well. I mean, tattoos? I was reading an article earlier today where they claimed somebody got deported for having an autism ribbon on their forearm. A tattoo, you know, you got the breast cancer ribbon, there's different colors. Person had a ribbon for autism, and they got deported for that. This is why you're not getting due process, because that's something that would easily be explained in court. Your attorney could come in, probably come in with somebody who's from the autism community, some charity or something, or the Red Cross, and show that this is the ribbon we hand out, and easily get rid of that case. But because you don't have due process, you don't get to argue your point, and you're gone. An autism ribbon. Deported him for that. Will G says the EBE was created in October 2017. During Trump's first term, another deal Trump made just to knock down. All the immigrants wrongfully deemed illegal are legal. Why immigrants got Social Security numbers? Thank Trump. Yeah, you know, the asylum seekers also are another group of immigrants that Trump deemed illegal immigrants. Under Biden, it was legal to come to America, walk up to a border patrol at a point of entry and claim asylum. Even if you didn't have a case, you get a court date and that's where the process goes. But Trump never recognized the asylum seekers as legal immigrants. So even though they did come legally during the Biden administration, the minute Trump became president, they suddenly became fugitives. They suddenly became, in fact, there's a whole lot of people that came here legally. You know, they don't come here illegally. We're okay with immigrants just come legally. Right now, Marco Rubio has stated that if you come from Sudan, they're going to basically cancel all Sudanese visas because Sudan, I think it is not taking immigrants that are being deported back. So all the Sudanese that are in this country legally, they suddenly are now illegal. So don't come illegal, just come legal. Well, you can still get kicked out. I mean, you know, there's a Duke basketball player that plays for Duke that may find himself fighting to see if he can stay. Because once again, he's from Sudan and suddenly his visa is about to be canceled. He ain't done nothing wrong. He ain't part of no gang. You don't have no tattoos, nothing. They just took out an issue with his country and now they're going to deport everybody from that. So the idea that if you come legally, you'll be okay, no. Not at all. You can come up with any excuse to get rid of people you don't like under this type of condition. Looking in the comments, you mad you're alone and we're stealing all the women. I don't know what relevance that has to the conversation. Privilege, it says that you could be removed from the country for any reason deemed on your visa. I don't know if they put tattoos on people's visa. I don't know if does the visa say that if you got the wrong tattoo you can be removed from the country? I don't think that's true. I don't even know if being in a gang is on the visa. They're making up the rules as they kind of go along. You know, if you're seen at a protest, you can be removed. You had one woman that went to her home country and went to a funeral of a perceived terrorist, and when she got back to America, they kicked her out. I don't think all of that shit's on the visa. What you do when you leave America and go to your home country, you can be held. Just she attended a funeral, and this is some big guy in that country. And the funeral was in like a stadium. So this is a big, big funeral. This is some kind of little private ceremony. Thousands of people there. She went to the funeral, and when she came back, they used that as an excuse to deport her. I don't think all of that's on the visa. They're deporting people for whatever reason they can make up. So no, it's more to it than that. Real quick, looking in the comments before we move on. Betterment Black, I think that says something like that. Trump loves gays. Just stay with your own teammates. Trump does not love gays. Does not. I know people like to say it. I don't think that's the case though. So what? Who cares if he has no criminal history? Do you not understand what illegal means? They're not all illegal, Kim. That's what I'm saying. All of those asylum seekers, remember under Biden, 18 million came in. Most of them folks were legal. They were not illegal. What's the name? Is it Betterment?
Yes, you just call me Betterment.
Okay. What am I getting wrong this evening? Good evening. What to the program? What brings you up? What am I getting wrong?
Most points I agree with you. To be honest with you, I wasn't going to vote this past election because I did not think that. For one, I didn't know. I just really care who went into office.
Did you vote? Did you end up voting?
Yeah, and I voted because I did not want Trump in office. I found out about the Project 2025?
Yeah.
I read some of it and I was so disgusted by it. And he was planning this all along when he came into office back in 2017, but nobody heard about it. At least
but the Trump administration is adamant that he has nothing to do with Project 2025. What say you?
He did say that, but he was involved. The Heritage Foundation donated money to his campaign.
Yeah.
And they spearheaded the Project 2025. They did the pages from front to back. And I was so disgusted. I was like, I can't have this man in office trying to take away my rights, not only as a person of color, but also a woman. So I told myself I have to vote because if
but
I
you said Project
be responsible.
Yeah, now Project 2025 is what inspired you to vote because you thought Trump was a danger to yourself as a person of color and as a woman. But you're making it sound like so Kamala Harris wasn't inspiring to you at all. You didn't vote because of her at all. You voted out of concern with Trump.
But here's the thing: I didn't know she was running until August.
That's when she got in. She was not running before August. That's when Biden stepped down. She wasn't running until August.
Yeah. Yeah, so I started looking into her policies and started reading her policies, and I agree with most of them so far, and I was like, well, there is no other candidate except for Trump and Kamala Harris. So my the best candidate to vote for was for Kamala, and that's who I voted for.
Okay, well, your candidate, obviously being Kamala Harris, did not prevail. We got Trump. How do you feel about the first 2.5 months of the Trump administration?
To be honest with you, I was I was expecting it, to be honest with you, because he said what he was going to do, when he was on the campaign trail, and it's something that he's doing now. So, to be honest with you, I'm really not surprised that he's doing the stuff that he's doing right now.
Do you favor what he's doing? Is he doing anything wrong? What do you think of his first 2.5 months?
To be honest with you, I think he's screwing up the economy really bad. He's making a mistake by firing all the federal workers, trying to save. He trying to lower taxes for the rich by firing people, and I'm just like, how's that going to help anyone? How's firing going to help the economy? How's that going to help the American people? Like, what's your plan? Like, you sitting up here, you saying that you're fighting waste and all that stuff. So, if you find like trillions of dollars that are going to waste, what is he going to be doing with the?
I don't know if my caller dropped. Are you still there? You got a bad signal, apparently. I'm going to move it on. Certainly, you're always invited back, Betterment. Your signal was going in and out. I would have loved to have heard the remainder of your conversation, but you're always welcome back. But you did have a bad signal. In the comments, Draco says this is why women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Based on what? I mean, she had an opinion. I'd be curious to know why you're suggesting that women should not be allowed to vote. Gen X, I saw him come in the program. Gen X is one that also believes that the country would be better off if women were not allowed to vote as well. But I'd be curious, what does she say that makes you suggest that women should not be allowed to vote? Because that is a very anti-female sentiment. Does she watch CNN and MSNBC? She's a View fan. And by the way, I am a View fan. I watch The View every day. There's certain programs I watch, to get my news. I generally get up and while I'm on, because I'm working during the day and I have an earphone in my ear, so I catch a little bit of the Breakfast Club. Then I catch Cuomo from News Nation. I catch the 5 every day from Fox. I listen to The View that comes on at 10 o'clock Eastern or 10 o'clock Central Time. So I listen to all of those programs because they tend to cover a lot of the topics, and a lot of those topics come to realization on this show. But if you have an issue with, let's say, The View, and you do not have an issue with the 5 on Fox News, then you're just a biased person because they're almost the same thing. I mean, the 5 features 4 Republicans and 1 liberal, and The View is kind of the opposite. You get 4 liberals and 1 Republican. The Republican on The View used to work as part of the first Trump administration. What is his name? Melissa Farrell or something like that. She was she was one of Mike Pence's assistants. So if you don't like The View, but you're okay with the 5, then you just like to hear echo chamber. You like to hear shit you agree with. But they're kind of the same thing, at least the first couple segments. There's topics and things like that have nothing to do with politics. But the first couple segments of The View is essentially the exact same thing as the 5, just in reverse. So if you like the 5, or if you like Outnumbered, but you don't like The View, then yeah, you're just biased. The 5, if you have an issue with CNN or MSNBC because they're biased, but you're okay with Newsmax, Fox News, or OAN, then yeah, it's literally the same shit in reverse. MSNBC is not doing anything that Fox News is not doing. In fact, Fox News is further to the right than MSNBC is to the left, because Fox News has a host of talent that has either served with President Trump or left the Trump administration and came and worked at the media outlet. Everybody from Kimberly Guilfoyle, who left Fox and damn near married into the Trump family. Jesse Waters of Fox has been on Air Force One. Most of them, including Sean Hannity, Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham got his private phone number. MSNBC is not connected to the liberal like Biden and Obama like that. I've never heard any on-air personality at MSNBC suggest that they have Biden or Obama's personal phone number. Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, they have Trump's personal phone number. So they're far more to the right than MSNBC is to the left. So if you're criticizing MSNBC and CNN, but you're okay with Fox, then yeah, you're just biased. Because Judge Jeanine Pirro, they've all been on rally stages and shit. MSNBC don't be showing up at Obama and Biden and Kamala Harris rallies and on stage introducing them, coming out like an MC. I've seen many Fox personalities actually on stage introducing Trump coming out. So you're either biased or you should see that. You should see that Fox News. In fact, I had a clip that I used to play that Bill O'Reilly, I think he said it last week, that Fox News is now the Trump network. And that's O'Reilly, who used to work there. So if you don't see that, then yeah, you just are biased and only want to hear what suits you. I'm trying to see if I can find that, because yeah, he said basically Fox News is essentially the Trump network now. I mean, that's, O'Reilly stated that when he worked at Fox News, 67% of his viewers were conservatives. So you're talking about 30 some odd percent were liberals. He says now 95% of the Fox News viewers are conservative and 90% are MAGA. He calls them MAGA people. And he says, so that's pretty much saying that the Fox News network is now the Trump network. So they're far more to the right than MSNBC or CNN is to the left. Looking in the comments real quick before we move on. If you need eggs that bad, grow them. It's all one big grift. They have same type of smartphone device. Okay, you guys are talking among each other, but looking in the comments, anyone that says women shouldn't vote probably shouldn't be voting themselves, says Travelman. It's a real sexist thing to say. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, when you're talking about women shouldn't vote, that is a really sexist thing to say. But there's a lot of folks who do believe that we should go back to the society we once had, where men were in control. Some might even argue white men, but men were in control of everything, and everybody else kind of had to go along with that. Gen X, like I said, has said that many times, that women shouldn't, even the jobs they can get should be limited. Did you hear what was going on at the North Carolina Supreme Court election? MAGA is still denying a Democrat win in North Carolina has voter ID, but they are trying to throw out votes. I know the race. That shit is still going on. Wow, Jesus. Yeah, look, the Democrats were accused of cheating in the 2020 election. I'm fairly confident that there's plenty of Republicans that have tried to cheat at this point. I mean, when you talk about the fake electors and all of that, I'm pretty confident that some of the Republicans have tried to cheat. Now, I'm not saying that there may not be some Democrats that will try to gerrymander in the future, like the Wisconsin Supreme Court election that just took place. I think when Elon Musk was trying to buy votes there, they all know whichever party wins is going to gerrymander votes, which they now believe that the Democrats are going to strengthen their hold in Wisconsin, because now they just gained another seat, at least in the Supreme Court. So we'll see. But I just told my wife to make me a sandwich, says Dirty Money. Well, that was Gen X's word. Anyhow, folks, I do appreciate the 73, 79,000. I got to get up just like the rest of you folks. I'm a working man. Got to get up in the morning. I do appreciate you folks that have tapped the screen. Did not solicit it for a while. Measuring Blue says women have rights as well as men. And we would not be here if it was not for our mothers and wives. I like that. That sounds like, What did he say? You came from a woman, got your game from a woman. What did he say? You have no. I'm talking about. It's Tupac lyrics. I can't think of them though. You have no right to tell a woman when and where to create one. You sound like you said something similar. Libtards hate Elon but love Soros, and vice versa. There, MK, and vice versa. The right loves Elon and they hate Soros. And here's one of the things you hear oftentimes. The liberals loved Elon until he went and voted for the Republicans. And now all of a sudden, which shows you the liberals are just nothing but hypocrites. The right didn't like Elon either. When he was promoting his electric cars and Trump was trashing electric vehicles, trashing lithium batteries and all of that, the right didn't like Elon until he put some money behind Trump and started speaking favorably of Trump. The right changed their tune in such injustice equal of a hypocritical fashion as they're accusing the left of. A couple years ago, the right was not favoring Elon Musk. Didn't like him at all. Everything MAGA wants voting-wise in North Carolina has and is not working. Well, that's still a red state though, ain't it? I don't know. Tim's a badass tonight, says T McJims. Thank you. I think. Since when has the MAGA liked electric cars? Since Trump was in front of the White House trying to sell one. Trump said all kinds of awful shit about alternative energy vehicles, windmills, solar panels. He don't like any of that alternative energy shit. He's talking about coal and natural gas. But the minute Elon put some money behind him, suddenly Tesla's was a car everybody should get their hands on. So to me, that's the perfect example that Trump can and was purchased by Elon. I mean, there are so many clips on YouTube of Trump saying negative shit about electric vehicles. The minute Elon got on this team, he never said anything negative about them again, and was even telling people to buy them. He was bought. Elon must purchase Trump. North Carolina has voter ID and signature match. MAGA is acting a fool. To me, signature match in 2025 is insane. Out of all of the technology we have, from fingerprint scanners to facial recognition software, why the hell would we still be going by signatures? That's insane. That is something that is a hurdle that the right puts to vote that can lead to legitimate voters not having their vote cast. A lot of us that may have had injuries to our hand, maybe have mental issues or neurotic issues with your nerves that may not be able to sign something the way they did on their license or state ID. Signature match in 2025, that is so fucking outdated, it's insane. But the right wants to put up hurdles to voting because lower turnout usually works in favor of the right. Signature match is insane. I don't understand why anybody would still be using that this day and age. And by the way, if you're going to suggest you want to have voter integrity and make sure elections are free and fair, it actually is easy to be able to sign something or forge a signature. That's the term I'm looking for. If you practice enough, you can forge a signature. That is by no means a good security tool. You can easily forge a signature. I don't know why anybody would be using that in 2025. That makes no sense at all. You can easily forge a signature. I'll die. At least I'll have a nice tight ass. Wow, somebody in the comments said some crazy shit. Voter ID and proof of citizenship will be here for 2028. I'm a fan of voter ID. I'm 100% behind that. I don't think there's any excuse for a grown-ass person to not have have an ID to vote. In fact, and this is where the right would never agree with me, I believe when you go down to renew your driver's license, you should just take your birth certificate or passport or whatever documents you have. We all renew our driver's license every 5 to 10 years, depending on what state you're in. You only need to do this once. When next time it's time to renew your driver's license, they should make it where you bring in your documents to show you were born in America, and at that point they put a small letter C on your driver's license. If you're an immigrant, or if you have a green card, you can put the letter G or whatever. You know, they got different categories on there. You know, what's your race? B for black or whatever. Man, woman, W. You can put, you know, citizenship status. The letter C. Now you can use that ID to vote with. You don't need to show your citizenship or any damn thing at the polling place. It's on the driver's license that came from the DMV. And that ends that. The fact is, the right wants voting to be difficult because smaller turnout leads to better results for Republicans. They want it to be harder to vote. That's why anytime you hear any type of legislation to make it harder to vote, it's coming from the right. Now, the Democrats want to make it easier to vote. Now, that does increase the possibility of fraud. The easier you make it to vote, the easier somebody can commit an act of fraud and vote. Well, the harder you make it to vote, the more likely it is that somebody who had a legitimate right to vote will have their vote or their ballot thrown out, like signature match, for instance. Some old lady is shaking hand and her signature doesn't match her driver's license from 2 or 3 years ago, and even though she legitimately should be able to vote, her vote is getting thrown out because the signatures don't match. Anytime you hear somebody making it harder to vote, it's going to be the Republican side of the aisle. Democrats want to make it easier. That's how you know voter ID and signature match is bullshit, because they are denying votes in North Carolina right now because they don't like the outcome. And that is true. Another good example of that is Pennsylvania. During the 2020 election, Pennsylvania changed their voting procedures, blaming it on the pandemic, blaming it on COVID, allowing people to mail in their votes. Texas sued the state of Pennsylvania, suggesting that the change they made was unconstitutional to the Constitution of Pennsylvania. And at that time, the state of Montana came forward and said, we made the exact same changes due to the pandemic that Pennsylvania did. But because Trump won in our state, they're not suing us. They're only suing Pennsylvania where they lost. And you are correct. Yeah, they are denying stuff and fighting against stuff simply because they don't like the results. Perfect example would be all of the states that Trump suggested committed fraud in the 2020 election. Out of all the states in this country, it was only the states he lost in that he seemed to have found fraud. You're going to tell me a smaller state like Wisconsin has heaps of fraud in it, but a big-ass state like Texas has none? You found fraud in Wisconsin, you didn't find any in Texas at all. No, you're not looking because you won Texas. You only care about fraud where you lost. Trump stated leading up to the 2020 election there was widespread fraud in the state of North Carolina, which Will is talking about now. Biden was winning in North Carolina a few weeks before the election. Trump won North Carolina, but Biden was winning in that state. Trump was all over the rally saying there's widespread fraud in North Carolina. Come election night, Trump won North Carolina. You never heard him complain about fraud again. Leading to the obvious question, how do you know you won? If you suggested there's been widespread fraud in this state, how do you know you didn't win by fraud? He doesn't care. He doesn't care about fraud if it works in his favor. He only cares about fraud if he loses based on it. So he's not seeking a free and fair election. He's just trying to win. And to me, that hurt his credibility. And I think that's also why a lot of judges did not rule in his favor when he was claiming that fraud was happening. It's like, you don't care about fraud. You just want to win. If the fraud works in your favor, you're good with it. Before we move on, Will G says, go to bed, Big Bro. See you tomorrow. Yes, you're right. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube horizontal, YouTube vertical. You know what we do Monday through Friday. I do got to get up and go to work. I'm a working man just like the rest of you are. If you're on Clapper, if you're on TikTok, I ask that you follow the program. We're all about free speech. Until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a good night. And I'll go ahead and clip. Draco, you was busy.